Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. Hold on, I think the music might be too loud. I might be too quiet. Oh, well, I'll get it figured out soon. Why, hi, wake up. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me for today's stream. Sorry I had to push it back. Obviously, very good reason. Wait, why am I behind chat? Why am I? What? Anyway. Might have to fix that. Ta-dang! But there was a direct today, so if you woke up super early in America time, or I guess any other time's pretty. I just feel bad for anyone living in PST or later, because I guess waking up at 7 is like relatively early. But for the ESTers or later time zone, congratulations on making it to the most optimal time zone ever for the Nintendo Direct. I like the Direct, but I also haven't watched like any other gaming thing. So this was like my first exposure to be like, whoa, they're making new games? Crazy! So see how that goes. And then I had like a meeting with my classmates at 12, and I thought it was gonna last the whole hour, but it didn't. So I'm kind of like, oh no. It only lasted 30 minutes, so I'm cramming, and then I forgot to make my little energy drink. So that was my day. So I hope you guys are having an awesome middle of the week hump day. Yeah. As you can see, I do have an exam later today, and it's all based off the elbow. So if I can get through at least 60 pages with you cubs, and then we'll like do some practice stuff, or maybe I'll look at some stuff in my own little pomodoro time, we should be good, and I should pass the exam. I have yet to fail one of these exams for this particular course, but you know, don't want to really start a pattern now either, you know? Smile emoji. But before we get into that, let me say my hellos and do all the really cool stuff, and pretty much go from there. Okay. Hi Rebel. Hi, welcome. Let's go. Welcome. Such as like my funny bone. Yeah, you know, the one that you hit and you're like it's all tingly and whatnot. I'll explain a little bit about it in my brief. I promise this isn't like a facade. My notes normally are a little bit more organized, but I was like, So some of these are not as organized, and I do want to formally apologize about that. Hi, Patada. Hi, welcome. So Tippa's gonna reveal her funny bone. Looking forward to the last. Yeah, we'll see how funny it is. Won't judge it. Be like, boo, get off the stage. Hi, Trick. Hi. The kick W bone? Yes. Just with a little tear down the side, because I think when I hit my elbow, I don't know, I freeze up in time, and I'm like, But yeah, welcome. Hi, Tropical Fun. Welcome as well. Gaga Nyanya. Welcome. Gaga Nyanya to you too. Welcome. Hi, Ma as well. Hi. Welcome. Hello. Hi, Shiro. Hi. Welcome as well. And Caleb. Hi. Welcome. Let me give you a whole hacking channel. One hacking moment. Da-dun. Time to tell people why the Onair's nerve and its pathway, and it's a horrible design. Oh yes, because it has to take a sharp turn depending on how anime you are. So, but we'll explain that in a little bit when we talk about carrying angle and all that good jazz. Will my MS Paint be up? Let me see. MS Paint. Yeah, I can explain stuff here. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, no more smiley faces. We'll get into what we need to get into. Hi, 11 as well. Hi, welcome. Why did I see bones? Study stream. Da-da! Politely regurgitating my information to you, cubs, so I can study for this exam, okay? Okay! I'm gonna take a sip of this. I feel like it's been a long day. I woke up at 7:30 and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna study. And then I took a 15-minute nap immediately when I woke up. And so I'm like, okay, it's 8, time to get up. Okay, sure, whatever. And so I finally woke up, and then I studied a little bit, and then the Nintendo Direct, and then I ate lunch, and then I had the classmates. So I've been awake for a while. So let me sip. Alright, I'm ready. For college, right? Yeah, I don't think I was this studious in high school, to be honest. Shout out to my studious high school cubs. I don't think I was studious, but I wasn't really a slacker either. Not to show off. I was once a member of the National Honor Society, whatever that really means, you know. Did that give me any benefits? I don't know. I don't think they really explained that. Was it only my senior year? Yeah, like I think the later half. Side king. Anyway, let's get into the elbows. So this course pretty much has been divided into upper extremity, lower extremity, and every 2 weeks it's something different. So last time we talked about the shoulder a little bit. Now we're moving on down to the elbow, and already 2 weeks have passed since my last exam. Would you believe that? Oh. And so I have an exam tonight about the elbows specifically. And then after this week, we'll be focusing, I believe, on both the hand and wrist. Because of stuff that we'll be talking about later, like topics such as nerve entrapments, is sometimes the hand will come in place. So you'll be like, Tippa, but you're studying the elbow. Why do you have information about the hand? I ask the same thing each and every day to myself, but I'm not a hater. I will take it as is. I understand that the nerve innervates a lot, so I will also learn the hand and get a little head start to next week's content. Smile emoji button voice. So let's get into it. So we know our elbow is, well, that pointy corner of our arm, right? Yeah, it's a little bit more than that, and I don't want to go super duper heavy with like this is the anatomy, but let's take a brief overview and see about its wonky articulations and how we're even able to like bend our arm. Like, how is that happening? So we can go have a little throwback. Instead of to like all anatomy or all like gross anatomy, we could talk about a little bit of the biomechanics. So this image right here, as you see, is going to be the anterior surface of your elbow. So right here you have 3 bones in total. This is your humerus. Another funny bone. Ha ha ha. Okay, sorry. You have your radius, and you can tell this is your radius because of a distinctive anatomical structure, which is called the radial head, which is right here, like a little cap, I suppose. Maybe I shouldn't use the word cap because there's another word called capitulum that we'll look at a little bit later, and it has the word cap, and let's not have confusion. But a little top, let's just say that. And then we have our ulnar humeral joint, and now this image doesn't do it justice. You can see it more here. But this is our ulna, and this ulna has this like C-shaped process, which is going to hook onto the back of our funny bone, the humerus. And that's how we're able to get like this articulation of like, oh, when we bend, it's like, okay, this bone is going along with it, and it's going for the ride. Wow, amazing. Now that brief introduction is done, diving into the biomechanics of it. So for biomechanics, as a flashback, everything is pretty much in a convex or a concave surface. So you know, concave is being like that, like like a cave. It's like a hole. It's shallow. You can go in, you know. While convex is the opposite. It's more rounded. So think of like a very common biomechanics example about bones is the ball and socket. So if you use 2 of your hands, one hand is shaped like a C and one is shaped in a fist. The C-shaped one is going to be the one that's going to be your concave, while the one that's made into a fist is going to be convex. So if you put your fist into that curved cupped hand that you're making, what's going to happen is that depending on what is moving, you'll get different rolls and glides, and this is like joint arthrokinematics that we don't really get to see IRL. It's more just like, hey, we had x-ray vision and we could see your bones in motion. How would we see them? And this can be really important because, again, sometimes people may have some kind of weird dysfunction and we just have to assess. Anyway, the way I remember in German, oh no. The way I remember as a German saying along the lines of, if her belly's convex, it means she had sex. Bless my anatomy professor. Oh no. I think I'd be scarred. I'd be like, oh, I'll never forget this. Thank you, anatomy Same thing with like the carpal bones. If like some lovers try positions that they can't handle, and it's like, oh, I feel like anatomy has a lot of like dirty mnemonics or dirty ways to like memorize silly things. But I mean, it's one of those very quirky, shocking things where it's like, okay, I will remember this. I think it'd be weird seeing my bones in motion. Your bones are in motion and your muscles are pulling it. What? It would be a little weird though. I would not be a fan. I really already don't like looking at the insides of our bodies. Alright, so my height's like, wait, hold on, I'm sorry. Let me do this. Ta-dang. Alright, so with that in mind, so we have the ulnar humeral joint, which is also could be abbreviated to UH. For our ulnar humeral joint, we could see it right here, and the naming is pretty, it's pretty self-explanatory. You have the ulna bone and the humerus bone right here, and that's going to be forming again the ulnar humeral joint. And again, how this articulation is happening is because the trochlear, which is right here, of the humerus, and then we have the trochlear notch, so you can see this highlighted in yellow right here, or even in here. This is the trochlear notch, and again, it's just that articulation, and the trochlear is going to be again right behind that humerus. Hi, welcome. The more shocking the mnemonic, the more vividly you remember it. Exactly. If not, I just repress it. The weirdest thing is when seeing joints in motion is the joint capsule. The way it scrunches cringes inside. Wahaha! Welcome. Thank you for peeking and lurking. I appreciate you. Welcome. Wee says elbow sounds nice and all, but what about the W bow? Huh? Every now and then? What the heck is a W bow? Huh? Anyway, so we have the ulnar humeral joint, we have the radial humeral joint, and so the radial humeral joint, same thing, the radius right here, and then we have the humerus bone right here, and how that articulation is going to occur is the radial head, which we just talked about here, with the capitulum. So the capitulum is going to be right here, and it's like this circle-shaped object. Cubs, I'm so sorry. Did I say the trochlear was posterior? I apologize. It is not posterior. It's definitely anterior with the capitulum. This brown like dotted lines is just to show the oh my goodness, the olecranon, or again that like that green shape right here. This hook a process coming off the ulna. Oh my gosh, my anatomy teacher's gonna kill me. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at this. Anyway, and then so the ulnar bone and the ulna bone have an articulation with the humerus, but the radial and ulnar bone also have an articulation with each other, and that's going to be the radial head into this radial notch of the ulna. I don't know if I got a really good picture of the notch, but just pretend there's like a little divot in there and it just kind of sits in there. Ta-dang! Yeah, here's some wacky photos of it as well. W bow, L bow, L plus ratio equal bow. Wait, please. I get the joke, but my brain's like, what? We're adding and we're subtracting? What's happening? My anatomy teacher's been informed. Thank you. It's okay. My anatomy teacher is a very kind guy. He's very sweet. I wish there was a little bit more from the class, to be honest. And it's kind of like, what more do you want than muscles? And it's like, no. His class was taught in a way of like, hey, here's these flashcards. Just memorize it. And yeah, just point this out on the cadaver, okay? Go! Hi, Rip! Hi! Oh my goodness! Welcome! Thank you for tearing what's up for 32. Oh, heck, Emos! Thank you! Big number? The biggest number! Thank you! Hi, Rip! How are you? And how's life? Oh my goodness! Welcome! We're just talking about the elbow. Up. It's warm? I'm sorry. Stay hydrated. Sip some energy drink. No, just like chug water. And stay in the shade. And bring your umbrella. And maybe put a little ice pack. Do you have anything hands-on in your anatomy class? Any specimens? So we did have cadavers, but in my other program, what we did was we worked with cadavers, we worked with models. This class was very anti-model. It was just like, here's like a 3D representation that you could put on like your computer or tablet. Now look at it. And I'm like, okay. I'm in a safe vicinity at home and I'm chugging liquid. Not absolutely no hacking problem. You enjoy your hacking Wednesday. As long as you're staying hydrated, that's all that matters, you know? Da-dang. Why elbowing someone's a very powerful attack? My dude, it's bone. It hurts. That's straight up bone. Anyway. Hi Karma, hi, welcome. Oh my goodness. Welcome. Alright, so the elbow, basically the same thing again. We could talk about the ulnar humeral joint, and it's basically saying that we have fossas, which are basically these shallow depressions in the bone surface that are located on the distal. Okay, distal again is further away, proximal is closer up to the body, depending on how you could say the midline of the body, depending on what your reference is, but normally midline. So the fossa right here again is going to be on the distal humerus, and then again we're going to have that olecranon, and then that's the posterior surface, and then the yellow is going to be the trochlear notch, and that's going to hook right here into the olecranon fossa. And then we also have a cornoid process right here, which is shaded in red, and that's going to go into the cornoid fossa, which we can see right here anteriorly or in the front. Dies. Oh, I never got to ask him this question. Anyway, more biomechanics stuff before we actually get into this class stuff. So these articulations, so each joint articulation that we noted, those three are going to be super duper useful in providing greater stability to the elbow joint, and this is going to be especially known when we bring our elbow into above 90 degrees of flexion. So look right here, if you were to bring your arm to your side and then you were to flex your elbow, normally you would line up right here, and that's 90. So what happens is that these articulations are going to be greater when you bring it up higher than 90. So if you do a bicep curl, or less than 50 degrees extension. So when you're right here, slightly below that 90, get to about 50, kind of eye it out. It's also really strong in articulating in that way, which is why it's very important to note that, because from the range of 50 to 90 degrees, so anywhere between here to here, this is what we call a loose pack position, which is like the most easiest position or easiest degree to put the elbow in when trying to do mobilizations, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, on a person's arm. You don't want it to be like, how do you call it? The difference between loose pack is closed pack position, and for closed pack you can't move anything, everything's kind of stuck. Think of it like a jigsaw puzzle, and maybe that's not the best example, but like they're stuck together, right? And yeah, you can wiggle to get it loose and whatnot, but the idea is that they should stay, they're perfectly fitted for each other. Well, again, within that 50 to 90, it's not as closely packed together, hence the loose pack, and that would be the position again that we would want to put our patient into. Blech, nice. Hi Tazzle, hi, welcome. Oh my goodness. Let me give you a whole hecking shout out. Sorry, my brain is like fried right now. Alright. So that's more of that, that's more of this. Okay, let's talk about kind of like anime stuff. Kind of, not really. So, the two condyles on the distal humerus are going to play an important part in positioning the elbow complex. And these condyles, which are just again a fancy word to say rounded protuberance or just like a rounded bone, it's going to be again, oh my mouse, a capitulum or trochlear. So if the capitulum, if we're putting yourself in anatomical position, remember anatomical position is your arms out to your side and then your palms facing the front. Your capitulum is going to be articulating with the radius, so that's going to be more lateral or on the outer side of your body, while the trochlear is going to be articulating with the ulna, and the ulna is located more in the medial side of your body. Because of this articulation, it's going to explain this thing called the carrying angle. So if you put your arms naturally, you let it hang to the side, and you do that anatomical position where you do the palms forward, your arm has like a natural bend to it. Yeah? Let's see. Let's see if I can grab like a person. Let's see. Let's grab another tab. Let's go over here. And carrying angle. I think I was trying to find an image for this, and I was getting like really weird like naked people, and I'm like, why? Why? You don't need to be naked to do this. But let's see. And will it give me a result if I put anime girl at carrying angle? No, I'm getting anime girls being carried. Let's see. Let me see. I feel like you see it in extreme, like, how do you call it? And we can kind of use this as an example. Sorry to whoever I'm volunteering. I'm sorry. So if you're supposed to rest your arms like this naturally, you're going to have this natural like angling out, and that's going to be referred to as the carrying angle. The reason why I keep frequently referring to like anime girls and whatever is because I feel like when you see like a lot of VTuber models, especially Live 2D, they'll naturally have the hands out to the side, and obviously having the hand, let me put a brighter color, having the arm like down to the side might not be as like natural, but your arms naturally kind of go out to the side, or kind of, they do. They do go out to the side, which is why, again, I feel like you'll see it in a lot of references. So be on the lookout, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Learning a fun fact from Tippa. Da-dang! Yeah. So there's certain degrees of what is considered normal and what is not considered normal. And it's going to be, what do you call it? A difference between male and females. So females tend to have a bigger carrying angle. If they put their arms out to their side, their arms will go out into about 13 to 16 degrees of a carrying angle. While for males, it's going to be less. It's going to be at about 11 to 14 degrees. And of course, with life and anything like that, there's always very high highs and very low lows. So if for whatever reason you're above 15 degrees, 16 is still reasonable, but maybe you're at 17 or 18 degrees as your carrying angle, you're going to have something called cubitus valgus, and valgus is going to look like this. So this is your normal right here on your left, and the middle, you see this is this zoom in, it's going way out than it needs to be. But then you can also have the opposite. You can have cubitus varus, and varus is going to be something that occurs when you have less than 5 degrees. So it's pretty much a straight line. So that can kind of heck up in some ways. We didn't really get into the specifics about it, unfortunately. But again, having two extremes of anything, whether it's high or low, can definitely impact the body and how you may be moving, etc., etc. So the notes kind of move on to this thing called structural observation, and this is a really strange concept. Whether you see a equilateral triangle or you see a straight line, but it has to be under these certain conditions. So, Matt, to answer your question, I don't think it would change. Matt says, would my angle be different or would it be the exact same? I don't think it changes. It's just, again, the articulation of the elbow. So, ta-dang. So, for structural observation, if you're in full flexion, like you're bringing your hand is tapping your shoulder. Good job today, Cubs. Good job. What should be observed if we had that X-ray vision is, well, I guess you could still see it, but you know, X-ray vision would be pretty nice. On the posterior aspect or the back side of your arm, regardless if your arm is supinated or pronated, so whether our palm is giving ourselves like a pat on the shoulder or it's facing, I don't know, towards the computer screen, what's going to happen is that an equilateral triangle should form in between the medial epicondyle, the lateral epicondyle, and the olecranon process. So you can see this right here. It's an equilateral inverted triangle. Ta-da! I assume the main consequence is a bad focal point for pressure between the joint facets. Wait, faces or facets? Huh? So cartilage gets messed up easier with age? Honestly, I believe it. I believe it because of how they probably continue their lives and do daily activities and applying more pressure than necessary. Well, I don't know if there's anything to structurally fix that, you know? Sorry, genetic lottery. Hi, Blood Knight. Hi. Welcome. Oh my goodness. Let me take a quick sip really quick. Sorry, one moment. Alright. So, what about the opposite? So, the opposite while doing a structural observation in full extension is that no longer are we going to see this, what do you call it, equilateral triangle. What we should be seeing now is a straight line. So let's talk about each of these like silly bullet points one by one and try to get a better understanding of what's going to happen in full extension. So if your palm is facing anterior and you have a supinated forearm, so again, anatomical position, arms out to the side, your palm facing the front of you, what's going to happen is that that's going to be presenting as your carrying angle, because when you do that position and you have your arms supinated or the palms facing out like that, you create that carrying angle, and then again it can be measured in different ways. Unfortunately, I can't tell you because whether you have normal or not, we just know that the average normal range for, again, females is 13 to 16, correct? And then I think males is 11 to 13. No, 11 to 14. Ta-dang. So, what about the opposite? So what if we had the palms facing, I guess I meant to write, No, I meant to write it right. So instead of that anterior, what if we decide, hey, I don't want my palms up anymore. I'm going to put my palms down. Ta-da! So you're, instead of facing your palms in front, your palms are facing the back. So now the back of your hand should be facing the front. Now you notice that it's like, oh, I don't really have that carrying angle anymore. I don't have that, how do you call it? That slight angulation away from my body. So no carrying angle will form. There would be no cubital valgus will be seen. Regardless of whether you have your arm supinated, regardless if you have your arm or forearm is supinated or pronated, when you're in full extension, a straight line should be seen between the medial epicondyle, the olecranon process, and the lateral epicondyle. So, da-dang. Huh? Caleb says also less than ideal muscle stress, etc. So I assume certain arm exercises would cause problems? Maybe, especially of how it pulls and whatnot too. I cry every single day. Good thing we don't have to deal with that. Yeah. Blood Knight's like, man, my brain is too small for any of these visuals. I'm sorry. That's why I try to put photos. Like, all these photos are not from my lectures. They gave me basically like the blankest thing known to mankind. And so I try to make it as visually as appealing as possible to my cubs. Unfortunately, sometimes that's just not enough. Hueso. Oh my gosh, hello, my Spanish? Gone. Yeah, all about bone, baby. Let's talk about what happens when you break bone, though. Let's go. Sorry, I can't spell equilateral, apparently. Just ignore that. Alright, so we had talked about that articulation. So let's move on to another articulation. Let's move on to the radiohumeral joint. So again, if we're in anatomical position with our palms facing forward and our palms are facing this way and our thumb is sticking out to the side, our radial side is going to be in line with our thumb. So the radius articulating with the humerus is going to again form our radiohumeral joint. And what's going to happen is that we can bring in some biomechanics into this, and this is not the greatest picture for this. Maybe this is, but you see the top of the head? There's like a divot in there. That is our concave surface, and that concave surface is on a convex surface, the humerus, because the humerus is this bony, like again, that ball and socket example that I it presented earlier with my hands. Again, one as a fist, one as a C shape. The C shape again is going to be concave, and the fist is going to be convex. And in this case, again, the radius head is going to be concave, and the humerus is going to be convex, and that's because, again, it's interacting with the capitulum, which again was that much rounded structure. Yeah, it's like very round structure right here on the humerus. So 2 months ago, I was walking my dog and she saw a cat and tried to... Oh, no. Sorry, let me read the whole story. So 2 months ago, I was walking my dog and she saw a cat and tried to run after her, and I pulled back, and since then my elbow's been hurting a bit when I lift stuff. Moral of the story, let the dog eat the cat. You know how many example cases I've heard? And again, I'm still a student, I'm new, I can't diagnose or assume anything, unfortunately, but maybe you can learn something off this. But there's been a lot of common examples where my dog pulled me in this direction, and either I tried to pull back or they pulled too hard and I fell, and I rolled over my ankle or something like that. I don't know. Walking dog seems like a dangerous thing. But I'm so sorry. I wonder why it's hurting when you're lifting. We'll figure it out. I can't guarantee anything, but we'll figure it out. So now that we got the biomechanics out of the way, the radiohumeral joint is going to contribute to all motions of the elbow. So we have our pronation, supination, so palm up, palm down, our flexion, extension, and I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, it doesn't have any deviations, not the elbow. And what's going to happen as well is that the HR joint is going to play a very important role in resisting excessive valgus force at the elbow. So valgus is just a very fancy word to say lateral force, and we can kind of have a little cute way to memorize it, knowing that valgus has an L in it and there's an L in lateral, so any force coming laterally or out from the side, this HR joint is going to be resisting it. But again, if there's an extreme, bad things happen. So what's going to happen is that there's an excessive valgus force at the elbow. It's going to come in contact, and what happens is that it should prevent a deformity. But if it's too excessive, it may result in a fracture of the radial head. One of the primary examples of how we could break this head, the little cap, remember the concave surface we were pointing out here, is during a whoosh injury. And that's not just the sound you make when you fall down. This is actually a mnemonic of falling on outstretched hand injury. So when you're trying to catch yourself and you're like, oh no, I'm falling, what happens is that there might be too much valgus force when you land. Your body weight shifts, valgus force coming in, fracture the radial head. And again, that's going to result, that whoosh injury is going to be as a result of excessive compressive forces at this joint. And then Heart walls get strong? They are strong, super strong. But it's getting better. It's been getting much more tolerable with exercise and time. Oh, that's really reassuring to hear. That's really good to hear. I'm glad that it's getting better at least, because sometimes things can get worse, and then if I'm like, oh, depending on how long it's been, maybe you should really go see a doctor. I don't think anything is going to worsen it at this point, but if you feel your situation's getting worse, always seek medical attention, even if the healthcare system is kind of stinky. Caleb says, interesting tidbit about the annular ligament. It's the most common spot for dislocation in children, since it's not properly fastened around the radius. Around the radius capitulum until later in life. Someone lifting their kids by their hands can make it plop out. Oh yeah, actually that's a super fun fact. Give me one moment. Hold on. Sorry, my classmates were messaging me. That is called, I believe it's called nursing maid elbow. Let's see. Yeah, boy. Let's just put it here. Yeah. Right? You said the radius? Yeah. So that's what happens as well. Or that can also be the alternative name. So you know how like parents would like swing their children around and all that kind of stuff too? And it's like, wee! You can like dislocate that super easy. Or again, as, excuse me, Caleb had mentioned, just like pulling your child's arm, you can dislocate it. So yeah, I don't know. Babies are babies. They're weak. They're not strong. Don't pull on them, okay? Oh, okay. Alright. So, the radial ulnar joint, let's move on to that, because this again is the radial humeral joint with the radius and humerus. Oh my goodness, help me. Okay. So the radial ulnar joint, so we have the two bones that are articulating with one another, not in relation to the humerus. What happens here is that we actually have a distal and proximal version of it, okay? And this is going to help us with our pronation and supination. And again, that's going to be the palm up and palm down. And we can see in this image right here, we have the proximal radial ulnar joint. And again, proximal because it's closer to midline. And then distal, which is going to be further away. And it has these two articulations. And of course, there's stuff in between and blah, 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 blah. But the bony articulations is what we're looking at right now. Both of these joints must allow for successful movement, in the presence of pathology at either joint could have profound impacts at the elbow and wrist. So basically, if it's hecky, there might be something wrong, and these articulations are going to help us with these motions. So I have a GIF right here playing about the, how do you call it? The supination? No. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Sorry. I was like, no. They're putting in pronation. If you just wait a moment, it does bring it into supination. These are some notes I had copy and pasted from my Biomechanics, but again, this is just the same thing in action. I hope there's really nothing in relationship to Biomechanics. This is just, again, a really cool gift to look at. But it's also really cool because I guess if we had to talk about like the bones moving over each other and whatnot, look at how the radius moves during pronation and supination. Isn't that wacky? Wow, amazing. It just like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Alright, so let's talk about fun pathologies, yeah? Yeah. But before we talk about pathologies, let's talk about muscles, because one of the pathologies that we'll talk about is called tendinopathy, and that's just a really fancy way of saying an inflamed tendon. And we understand the term tendon is supposed to be a connection from the muscle to the bone, and again, on that same kind of coin as well, that is what we consider a tendon, while a ligament is just something that is bone to bone. Tendinopathy is only referring to tendon, and again, muscle to bone. So let's talk about some of our muscles that we have on our arm, or really just trying to focus more on the elbow, or that may influence the elbow. So we could talk about our very, like, not generic ones, but ones that we may be familiar with, and some that we may not be as familiar with. Let me take a quick sip, though. I'm so sorry. I haven't spoken this long in 500 years. Instructions unclear. Took a child by its hand and started doing J-Force training. I gotta start them young. Anyway, so I feel like it might be beneficial if you can see the image. So let me zoom out just a tad bit. And can I do that? Perfect. All right. I'm not gonna go super in depth with the origin and insertion, though I should know it. But I think nerve and action is going to be a much more important role, especially in short-term memory at this time. So our bicep brachii, bicep has the prefix bi, and bi means two. So we're going to have two heads. We're going to have a long head and a short head of the bicep. Again, not worried about the origin. It's going to insert all the way over here into the aponeurosis of the flexor of the lower arm, and we'll see that a little bit more later. You can't see my mouse. We'll see that more later. The nerve, oh, these are not nerves. I mix this up. It's fine. It's whatever. It's okay. The action of the biceps, as hopefully most of you cubs do know, is that it helps flex your forearm. So when you do those bicep curls, or even just flexing your elbow flexing right now, it's like, oh yeah, I feel that. It helps that out with that kind of motion, and it's going to be innervated by this nerve called the musculocutaneous nerve. This is more for like the upper arm like this. A lot of the other nerves we're going to be focusing on is like your median, your ulna, and a radial nerve. So yeah, bicep brachii, musculocutaneous nerves, that's what it's innervated by. Now, fun MMT kind of stuff for manual muscle testing. Oh my goodness, I'm like, what is that abbreviation? There's different ways to test these muscles. So if you ever want to test the strength of someone's biceps, you would do it with their thumbs up and then be like, okay, flex your arm. And then you like push down at a certain position and try to test their strength and see if you could break their form. Another muscle you may have not heard of is called the brachialis. So everyone has a brachialis, and it's this. Sorry, I have to like make this wide or something. Excuse the scaling on these, holy heck. But just so you guys can see, teehee. So the brachialis is this little muscle right here. And it's kind of like, huh? What? Huh? Oh, wait, before I get into that, cubs, excuse me. The bicep brachii also supinates the forearm. So also with lifting, it also again brings your palm up to hold a cool or a hot bowl of soup, okay? Okay, anyway. Brachialis. It also flexes the forearm, but did you know that the brachialis is considered like the stronger muscle for your flexing? Like it's stronger than the bicep? I forgot the reason why. I think it's literally because the size of this thing and where it is located, and the I think they call like the cross-sectional area. Heck, either way, bicep and brachialis do the same thing. They flex, but brachialis is considered a stronger flexor, basically. And it's not located all the way up here like the bicep. That you see the bicep is right here. There's your, how do you call it? Your shoulder blade or the scapula. And look, your collarbone's right here too. Clavicle. Ta-da! That's why lift gotta make it difficult for patients to keep their form. Me letting gravity do all its work. Brother, my arms are like sticks. I need gravity in my whole entire weight to push down someone. The what area? The cross-sectional area. Ta-dang. Searching for brachialis routines right now? Honestly, yeah. Please do. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll recite my sorriness later. That's fine. Let's just get through these like 3 muscles. Oh my gosh. I just realized something. But yeah, brachialis does the same thing. It flexes, and it's also innervated by the musculocutaneous nerve, but apparently it's also innervated by the radial nerve as well. And that might be just because of its insertion onto the ulna, so it's on that side. Wait, no, why would it be a radial nerve? Well, I couldn't tell you how the body was made, unfortunately. I didn't choose to design it this way, so I don't know. The weird thing about that muscle, bicep brachii, is that it half supinates and pronates the lower arm, and the brachialis is more for holding weight, whereas the bicep brachii is for more active lifting. Oh? If I'm backseating? No, you're not backseating. You're fine. I am, what do you call it? An avid, like, fellow muscle knowledger. Sorry, that's not a term. I'm appreciative, so don't even worry. I just apologize if my brain is like dying. I'm so sorry. I've been studying the past few days and I just feel fried. And I feel like I can't contribute much because I feel like I'm like not as knowledgeable as a student as I would hope to be. But it's daishoburi. A-okay, do not worry. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we could say it's like the midway in between bicep and brachial radialis. So let's move on to brachial radialis. So this is like a really strange muscle in a sense that it is a long muscle. I don't even think this image does justice to it, but it's located on the 2/3 of your humerus. So let's say here. And it goes all the way down to your styloid process. So if you feel like a little bump on the side of your wrist, that most likely you're palpating is your styloid process. So it's very, very, very long. So from here, or I guess we could use this image. Sorry. From here all the way to maybe like here. And that's absolutely insane. This is also good for flexing the elbow, but only when it's in neutral, okay? And it's a really cool muscle because though it may not be the strongest flexor that we have, it has the greatest mechanical advantage over both the bicep brachii and the brachialis because of its long moment arm. Oh my goodness. Biomechanics, please. I'm so sorry, professor. Anyway. So let's go back to a mistake I was saying. I apologize. When doing MMT or manual muscle testing, there's different, yes, we could do elbow flexion, but how can we test for each individual muscle? So let's work our way backwards because my dumb booty had forgotten and I am so sorry. Brachial radialis is also known as your beer drinking muscle. That is the one where you do with your thumbs up because like imagine you're drinking a can of beer, or if you don't drink alcohol, a can of soda. You don't drink soda, a bottle of water. And think about how you hold it. Not necessarily has to be like thumbs up or anything like that, but that's how you would test it for the MMT. Just have the patient hold with their thumbs up and come on up with the elbow flexion. For brachial radialis, I believe you're going to do MMT, but you're going to be doing it with your palms down. So you'll flex, but your palms facing the ground or downwards. And the bicep brachialis with your palms up, because remember the bicep also helps with supination, and palms up is that supination motion. So badang. Hey Tip, grab your lunch and have a good funny bone. Thank you, Atomic. May you also have good funny bone. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for a like. Thank you. So the reason why we had to talk about these muscles is because these are our anterior elbow flexor groups, and because they are located here, now when we talk about tendinopathy, which again is that muscle to bone, these muscles are going to be our prime location when we talk about anterior tendinopathy. Oh my goodness. So again, bicep brachii, brachialis, and brachial radialis are all going to be muscles that if we have some overuse may lead to anterior tendinopathy or that inflammation of the tendon. They asked some blue questions and I started trying to answer them, so I apologize, but we can go over that instead of this long paragraph. So, does the bicep brachii have a stronger role as an elbow flexor or as a forearm supinator? And it's definitely a flexor. I don't think the bicep brachii has made its like title or like way around by saying like, oh yeah, it's a great supinator. It can help with supination, and it does. It can, but the stronger elbow flexor in comparison. The strongest supination muscle that we have is the supinator, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit anyway. So no worries. This question is talking about the mechanical advantage, and we did that again. This question is asking the origin and insertion of the muscle, and it's just to emphasize of how long it is and why it has again that long movement arm. What is the nerves again? So bicep brachii is going to be musculocutaneous. Brachial radialis is going to be radial nerve, and then brachialis is our little funky in between with the musculocutaneous and radial nerve. All right, let's move into the medial forearm flexors. Okay, so. Before we kind of go completely into though we talked about those three muscles, bicep brachii, brachial radialis, and brachialis, as muscles are going to help with elbow flexion, there are some additional muscles that even though they don't really have a role in elbow flexion, they can still help out, and that's going to be your pronator teres, your extensor carpi radialis longus, and your flexor carpi radialis. Those three muscles are also going to help, but they're very, very, very weak contributors into that, and are only involved when we have greater than 50 degrees of elbow flexion. So remember when we said that we like do the beep boop robot pose, like if we bend our elbow, normally we bend our elbow into like a 90-degree angle. Think of like right angles. Go back to high school. And you have your 90-degree angle, right, with your arms. Again, these muscles, pronator teres, extensor carpi radialis longus, and flexor carpi radialis, are going to only help when it's greater than 50 degrees. So even putting your elbow into that position, you already have these muscles helping you. Da-dang. Forearm flexors and extenders, aka muscle boot camp. Cry, sobs, tears. So the medial forearm flexor is really not that bad. There's a lot of muscles here and it seems really overwhelming, but there's like a really neat mnemonic. And I'll explain it even with the colors. But hi Boyd, hi, welcome. So for this one, this is going to be FPFP. Wait. Yeah, no, I got it confused. It's PF, and it's not really supposed to stand for anything, but it's like alteration of the letters from the alphabet that play as a mnemonic. So we'll go in order. So all these muscles are coming out from one area, which is going to be the medial epicondyle, or the common flexor tendon for the most part. So PF, our first one is going to be here in yellow, and that's going to be our pronator teres. Our pronator helps us pronate. Smile. Alright, we'll move along. In the green, we have the flexor carpi radialis. Flexor carpi radialis. Long, weird name, but it all explains what it does in the name. It helps flex the wrist on the radial side. And it also is going to help with, radial deviation. So again, if you have your hand flat, and I tell you to just like nudge your arm. How do you explain deviation? If I tell you to do like jazz hands, but jazz hand only to your thumb side, that's gonna be radial Wait, what the heck is jazz hands? Heck. What's a good example anyway? Just a small wrist movement. Towards your thumb side, that's radial deviation, and if you were going to your pinky side, that's ulnar deviation. So da-dang. Alright, right here in blue, so we have our PFP. So our next P is going to be our palmaris longus. This is a muscle that maybe some of you cubs have, some of you don't. I believe if you put your pinky and thumb together and then you flex your wrist, or you bring your wrist to you, your palm, your hand towards your face in that direction, you'll see a little tendon pop up from the wrist, and it should look like kind of like this. And again, only some people have it and others don't. I have it on one arm, I don't have it on the other. I have no idea. With some of the cadavers we had recently, we saw that some of the people were missing it, so my professor was joking, saying that, hey, we're evolving, which it may be true. There was some speculation with a lot of newborn babies, not having wisdom teeth anymore, and it's like, oh, or like they won't be born with it, like we outgrew that. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I still have to pay like a few $100s to get mine removed eventually. Heck. She has one strong arm. Brother, look how tiny this muscle is in blue. I will be okay without it. They stole our tendon, bros. They stole it. It's okay, they're gonna steal it again anyway. You can use the palmaris longus for like an alternative surgery, but I have to go look at it again. Good enough for creator. Oh, gosh. I don't think I could do boxing anytime soon. Gomena sawi. Alright, let me take a quick sip. Oh my goodness. Alright. The last muscle we have from the PFPF is going to be our flexor carpi ulnaris, and this is a little bit harder to see, but it's in that deeper, darker red right here. Same thing with the flexor carpi radialis. It does the same thing, except it's on the ulna side, on our ulnar bone, on the pinky side, and it's gonna help flex the carpi, so flex the wrist, and do ulnar deviation right here. And guess what? We basically covered the whole thing. Ta-da! We don't even need to go over this. No, I'm just kidding. We do have to go over this. There's only two muscles that I haven't covered that are not covered in this PFPF pattern. It's going to be the flexor digitorum profundus and flexor digitorum superficialis. So to be completely honest, I don't remember the way that these muscles order in like their little sandwich chain. I think superficialis is going to be underneath all this. Yeah, I think. And then profundus is definitely going to be deeper. Gamer? Gamer! And we're on page 14. Let's go, gamers! Alright. Huh? Got bamboozled by Twitch? I thought the title was like teaching cubs about... Huh? Like, wait, thighs? Like the leggies? I'm sorry. You'll have to come like in a few weeks. We'll talk about thighs later. We're on the arms now. I apologize. Unless you meant tights too. I'm like, I'm done. Well, welcome, welcome. Alright. You'll be there? Thank you, Lloyd. Alright, so the flexor, oh my goodness. The flexor digitorum superficialis is going to be our second layer. I'm like 85% confident on that statement. But it's more superficial in comparison to the profundus, hence its name. And what's going to happen with this is that, again, name looks complicated, but it's literally telling us what it is. Flexor digitorum superficialis is the flexor of the digits, and our digits is another fancy way to say our fingers. So it helps flex our digits, and it's a superficial muscle. The only thing about this is that it doesn't flex the thumb. Our thumb has like its own sort of muscles. This is going to help flex the second, third, fourth, and fifth. Yes, I can count. Muscle. So basically from your index to your pinky is where it's going to be help flexing. This muscle is also going to be innervated by the median nerve. All of these muscles actually should be innervated by the median nerve except flexor carpi ulnaris, which is right up here. And again, we talked about that being on the pinky side, and we'll talk about the nerve distribution a little bit later. But the flexor carpi ulnaris is going to be innervated by the ulnar nerve. Kind of makes sense with the name, but again, we'll explain the distribution in a little bit. The flexor digitorum profundus, then we can move down here, also does the same thing, by the way. Flexes the digits, but the deeper muscle. It also helps with the second through fifth digits, but it's innervated by both the median and ulnar nerve. Okay? Okay. And that's it. All those 6 muscles that we talked about are PF, as well as the superficialis and profundus. All these muscles are going to be important when we talk about medial tendinopathy, because again, all these muscles are coming from the medial epicondyle of our arm. They all have that same origin, all coming off medially. And I know this is not, it's kind of like, well, that's on the right side. Is that really medial? Think again, anatomical position and blah, 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 blah. 11, I'm going to put this command right here because I think it's more useful when it wants to pop up. Did I have pomodoro on here? No, I don't have pomodoro. Are you scared? Yeah, I was like, oh no, did I title this wrong? Yeah, I normally do some pomodoro. So again, it's like a set productive thing. So I'll do pomodoro for an hour, where 45 minutes we'll do focus, and then 15 minutes we'll take a break, and then I'll still be chatting in the text box, but I'll basically be blasting music, and I just stare for like 6 to 7 hours at a time. But the study and the command works. Oh, thank hecking goodness. The TLDR to that paragraph is that I just talk about my notes. I regurgitate it. I rebrand to a baby bird. I go and I try to tell you everything I know about the elbow from my notes. Yeah. Thank you for joining and hanging out, though. I appreciate ya. And plus, I think it's really cool because, I mean, everyone has elbows, right? Or at least at some point, right? Smiley emoji. Huh? She sadly chats more than studies because of me constantly talking. Ignored. Blocked. Galga! Please, is it Rel? Or Rel? Or who? But thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cup Club. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please don't let my poor pronunciation of any word stop you. Or stop me from anything. I apologize and welcome and thank you. Wait, isn't the baby bird one the one getting vomited on, not doing it? Oh yeah, I'm like the mama bird and I'm regurgitating to my cubs. And cubs are like baby bears, right? So you're like my baby birds. And I go, bleh. And I'm like, oh, the pronator tears. Oh my goodness. Hi, Hyper. Hi. Studying uni class for free? For free! Get to learn about the elbow for free! Why even pay for college courses? Oh yeah, because you need to get it certified! Not for free! Oh my goodness. Hi Gala, by the way. Hi, welcome. And you pronounce it well, I'm gonna look. By the way, absolutely no hecking problem. Let me like try to bum rush this because I want to try to see if we could get to nerve entrapments in the next hour. Haven't I studied? Thank you. I appreciate it. I will have the best study. I have to. I have an exam. I need to pass. Ah! Sorry, I don't mean to be screaming. I forget. I don't even know if I have my limiter on. Oh, I'm so sorry, Cubs. Alright. Back to chugging some water, and we'll talk about the other thing. You will pass. You will succeed. Thank you. I'll try my best. Gabarimasu. Alright. So all those muscles that we had just talked about, again, are going to lead to the medial tendinopathy. And why? Because the medial tendinopathy, we think about our anatomical position and think that these are coming from the medial epicondyle, that bone on our humerus. And again, tendinopathy is that inflammation of the tendon. So let's talk about the pronator teres specifically. So we talked about the pronator teres, the extensor carpi radialis and the flexor carpi radialis as being weak flexors, but help out. Was it past 50 degrees? Yeah, they only contribute if it's greater than 50 degrees of flexion. So the pronator teres is a very easy muscle to remember because not only its unique name, but it tells you its function in the name. It pronates. So your palms up holding that beautiful cup of soup because of all that supination we've been talking about? No. Dunk the soup. Dump it down to the ground. Put the palm down. Drop the soup. Drop the water. Drop the cup. Drop whatever. Palms down. And that's going to be your pronation motion. And it's along with that muscle, along with a secondary muscle that's going to help you perform that action. Okay? Okay. So the pronator teres is a weak flexor, but the strong pronator of the forearm. Naturally, this pronator teres is going to be the most commonly involved tissue of medial tendinopathy, though. What happens is that the two heads of the pronator, I was going to talk about nerve entrapment. Actually, let's wait for that. But just know that's very common for medial tendinopathy, and that it also plays its role in resisting valgus loads. Anything on the medial side, it's going to help resist forces coming out from laterally, and vice versa. Anything laterally is going to try to resist forces medially. Anatomy is all about opposites, which is very unfortunate. Drop the soup, pick up the bread. Let's go to Panera Bread. Alright, so this is like a brief thing that we'll talk about a little bit more later with nerve entrapment, but one of the questions is asking what nerve is involved in pronator teres syndrome and what is the mechanical cause. So this is really interesting because you cubs, I am 95% sure you cubs have heard of this thing called carpal tunnel or carpal tunnel syndrome. You heard it because it's like, yeah, all this time you spend on the computer or on your phone and blah 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 blah, so you're gonna get carpal tunnel. Yeah, maybe, but there's something similar that happens and also can replicate the same kind of symptoms, and that's from this thing called the pronator teres syndrome. So this is really interesting because the muscle, the pronator teres, which we could see right here, in blue, and we could see it right here again as well, but just on the opposite side. What happens is that the median nerve, so let me see if I can zoom back into 100. That doesn't make it as much visible, but it's fine. The median nerve we see here travels all the way down, and what happens is that if there's something wrong with the pronator muscle, maybe it's like tight, it's leading to some compression of the nerve, you end up with a medial nerve entrapment in the pronator teres, and you end up with like these list of symptoms, which is similar to when the median nerve travels down here, and then right here we have the carpal tunnel syndrome because it gets stuck at, well, the carpal tunnel. Ta-da! Go! Shifting Gamer, thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cup Club. Welcome. yeah, we'll talk about the presentation differently, but again, it's just letting you know about like, hey, this median nerve that travels all the way down your arm can get trapped here and here. How can we distinguish it? And we'll talk about it in a different section. But it also talks about how we can examine this, and we'll talk about this again more later, but as a brief like little touch on it, we could do MLT. MLT is like a really fancy way of saying, muscle length testing. So it's just stretching the muscle. And when we create that stretch the muscle, we're like, oh, let's stretch. We're creating tension on that nerve, or the tension on that nerve, compressing that nerve, and that's gonna reproduce the symptoms. We can also do MMT, that manual muscle testing, and we can contract the pronator. And then be like, okay, pronate. Oh, that really hurts because that contraction is also pushing down on the nerve, and that's going to replicate symptoms. And we could do neuromuscular stuff. We could do things called like neural tension testing, which don't talk to me about. I need a refresher, but basically it's stretching or flossing the nerve. Don't talk to me about that one. I can't remember. That was last semester. I'm sorry, Cubs. Oh my goodness. Tippa spotted? Tippa my emotional PNG right now. But glad you can notice. Tippa Wicked. Big shout out to Ara. Ara is the one who made this cute Tippa Wicked. And Dingus is the one who came up with the idea, and Ara's like, I have the power to do it, and I'm grateful for both of them. Alright. Is this really important? Let's see. We could briefly talk about it because we have the image right here. So, talking about again the muscles on the anterior medial side of our arm, we could talk about the flexor carpi radialis. So we can see that right here again in green. Again, it's gonna play a minimum role with the elbow movement. We did talk about it really just being a wrist kind of motion, but it is attached to the elbow, so shrug emoji. Same thing with flexor carpi ulnaris. The flexor carpi ulnaris is going to be right here again in the red, and that's also going to play a minimum role with elbow movement. Again, it's going to be primarily a wrist flexor and an ulnar deviator. Oh, and also when we talk about nerve entrapments, we'll see that the flexor carpi ulnaris has these two heads, and that the nerve goes through it, and that sometimes the nerve can get entrapped in there as well. Oh my goodness, I did not color these, as you can tell. Again, the notes look like this most of the time, so I'm just like, oh, how do I make it nice and colorful? The flexor digitorum profundus we talked about with that flexing digits 2 through 5, so not including the thumb. And if we want to be like, oh, little bear gals and the little claws, or like, oh, here are my grippers, but on my hands, that muscle, the flexor digitorum profundus and superficialis, are going to be helping out with that movement. Nothing, again, really with the elbow. Palmaris longus, that muscle I was saying that, hey, do you have this muscle or do you not have this muscle? That's going to be helping with, wrist flexion. And here, look, it has like the little donation thing we were talking about earlier. The palmaris longus, so again, that's the muscle. If you put your thumb and pinky together and you flex your wrist towards you, like you bring your palm towards you and you see a little tendon pop up, that's your palmaris longus. And it can actually be commonly used as a donor site to repair tendons elsewhere in the body, because you can live without your palmaris longus. You can live without a lot of things, but will that make your life easier or worse? Time will tell. But you don't really need your palmaris longus, and again, that whole talk that we had earlier about it may be slowly evolving out of it, so you can just boop, pluck the tendon out, and if you need that tendon somewhere else, ta-da! Easy fix! And even if you don't have it, I guess you can have it from a cadaver or something. IDK, I forget the name of it. Oh, I remember. So if you were to do a procedure like this, I believe it's called autograft, because auto is self, and if you were to get it from like a cadaver, it would be allograft. Alright. What nerve innervates these muscles? We talked about that, so let's kind of speed through this, okay? Alright. We're done with our front muscles. Yay! Alright, gamers, let's talk about our back muscles, yeah? Oh my gosh, these are chunky images. Please go on one page. Oh, thank goodness. So let's talk about our back muscles of the arm, our triceps. The bicep is so what do you call it? So popular, but the tricep doesn't get as much love, so let's try. Huh? Geru Gura, thank you so very much. Not Gura, I'm sorry. It was her birthday and it's on my mind. Geru Guru, thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cup Club. Welcome. I'm sorry. It's like, they're gonna be like, yeah, that happens all the time, don't worry. Oh my goodness. Hi, Julian, by the way. Hi, welcome. Hi, Worlo as well. Hi, welcome. Back muscles, Okay, sorry. Back of the arm muscles, okay? Okay. So our tricep is really interesting because similar to biceps, where again I said the word bi or the prefix bi means two, well, tri means three. Think of like the word tricycle. So the tricep brachii is named that way because it has three heads, and we can see the heads here. We have our lateral head, which is lateral. We have our medial head, which is going to be in the middle, and then we have our long head right over here. Again, we're not focusing too much on origin and insertions. We do, however, want to recall the nerve in action. So a good chunk of our muscles on the back of our arm are going to be innervated by the radial nerve. Might be some weird wacky exceptions, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, okay? For the tricep brachii, its action is that's going to extend the elbow. Okay? Huh? Fun thing about the tricep brachii that it plays a much larger, no pun intended, role in making the upper arm appear larger than the bicep. Oh? Again, I have stick arms, so I didn't know this. I will start working on my elbow extension. Wah. Alright. The anconeus is also one of our back muscles. So the tricep, the only thing in the oh my gosh, how do you say this? The only muscle in the back of our arm basically is just our tricep. That bulky mass that you're squeezing in the back of your arm, squish. It's only your tricep, and this tiny little baby. Sorry, I don't know why I said it that way. Tiny little baby, cone shape muscle. This triangular cone muscle is called the anconeus. So the anconeus muscle is this, again, tiny muscle that's going to come off from the lateral epicondyle, attach itself onto the olecranon or onto the ulna, and it's also, again, because it's that back of the arm, it's going to be innervated by that radial nerve. This muscle, though it's super duper tiny, it's actually going to assist in forearm extension at the elbow. So it's going to help the tricep when our arm or our brain is like, extend elbow. Both muscles of the tricep and the anconeus should be firing. The anconeus as well is going to help stabilize the elbow joint because, as you see, though the elbow joint has a lot of articulation, a little stability goes a long way, you know? 11 says, speaking of backbones, do you know what caused the feeling of being stabbed in the upper body, especially on a cold condition? No, what is it? Unless you're asking me, like, do I know the answer? The answer? No, I have no idea. Sorry. But if you do have the answer, you're more than welcome to enlighten me. Exclamation mark cone? We don't have a command for that. I'm sorry. Weightlifters go for big triceps or wider looking arms? Oh. Cubs, I don't have an image immediately on me, but I'm about to look like my Minecraft character. I'm gonna train. I'm gonna be boxy. Oh my goodness. Huh? You get that feeling every time working at midnight. No, I am so sorry. The only reason, like, not to like toot my own horn, the only reason I don't know that most likely is I'm not really a medical doctor by any means. Caleb, you're more healthcare. Caleb, diagnose 11, please. So yeah, I'm sorry. I could tell you about muscles though. Kind of. Not even then. I'm still a student. Teehee, I don't know anything. I'm such a baby. Anyway. So, any of the two muscles that we just talked about, the tricep brachii and the anconeus are going to lead to posterior tendinopathy, and again, inflammation of the tendon, overuse, etc., etc. Let's see. The triceps consists of 3 heads at the proximal shoulder, but 1 tendon at the distal insertion. This is a primary extensor of the elbow, may be damaged with overuse and or forceful eccentric load applied to the concentric contraction. The anconeus is commonly overlooked muscle, but has an important role in stabilizing the elbow. Okay, we talked about that. That's fine. And we talked about it being innervated by the radius nerve. Alright, so let's move on to the back of our arm, okay? So the back of our arm has a bunch of muscles. You see all these colors? They're not here for fun. They are here for fun. I love colors. But like, gosh darn it, there's so much. So with the lateral group, we have the they're all our extensors, by the way. That's a really cool thing about our body, of how we can kind of like quote unquote compartmentalize our actions. So the front of our arm in anatomical position, palm facing out, are flexors, while the back of our arm is going to be, what do you call it, the extensors. So on the back of our arm below the elbow is going to be extensor carpi radialis longus, which we can see right here in blue. We can also see the brevis right here. Go go! Owl sounds! Wait, hoo hoo. Thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cup Club. Welcome, 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 welcome. Oh my goodness. Welcome to Elbow 101. Welcome to the Cup Club chat. Alright, so long muscle, brevis is going to be the smaller muscle right underneath here, and they're both colored in blue because the, what do you call it, whoever made this picture hates us, but it's okay, we're gonna make the distinction because I have individual images right underneath. Okay I'm here to learn. Let's go. Me too, for my exam in like 6 hours. Let's go. Wait, no, I can't do math. It's 2:30, my exam's at 7. 5 hours, 4.5. Oh god, hold on, Tiffany. Anyway, Caleb says, oh wait, Caleb, thank you for the helping 11. I appreciate it. Yeah, again, I'm so sorry. Anything medical, I'm honestly like. Ah, boy, Shady, hi, welcome. Or Shady? Shady. Heck. Thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cup Club. Welcome. How often do you do study sessions? Okay, so welcome to the longest answer known to mankind. So I do them pretty frequently. I'm not gonna lie to you. How often I do study sessions where I review my notes? Not as often as I like anymore. I tend to do a lot of more pomodoro streams, and I think I did a pomodoro earlier this week, right? Yeah, like on Monday or something like that. And pomodoro, if you're not familiar, was like a very like productive study method, so I don't burn myself out because teehee, bearcat graduate student. But I tend to do more pomodoro than study streams, but I always have my schedule pinned up on Twitter, and I have another study stream potentially Friday, so you're more than welcome to join. Da-da. Mac, thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cup Club. Welcome, and thank you for the hydrate. You could hear the hoarseness in my voice. Nah. When I'm not studying, I'm a comedian at late night. Alright, let me sip some water. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you. Karma says, important study question. In which muscle would you say the Kamehameha originates from? From the soul. Thank you for coming to my TikTok. Hi, Zakazla. Hi. Welcome. Gap Gal Fellow Cubs? Don't worry. Gap Gal Fellow Cub to you too, Zach. Welcome. Thank you, Karma. I'll be here until my exam. So what's gonna happen from here as well is that we'll move on down. Again, all these names look stupidly long, but again, break down each of the names. Extensor carpi radialis longus, long muscle, extends the wrist, carpal wrist, radialis on the radial side or on thumb side or on the radius bone. Yeah, yes. And it's a long muscle. And then it's the same thing with the brevis, but brevis means that's a short muscle. Our extensor digitorum, which we can see right here in this yellow. Look how long this boy is. Oh my goodness, what a long boy. This is going to be the muscle that's going to help extend our digits. And you see, it does the same thing of extending digits 2 through 5. It doesn't do anything with the thumb because, again, the thumb is a complicated beast of its own that has its own set of muscles that we'll talk about again much later when I get into those topics next week when we go more into the wrist and hand. For now, only elbow. We have the extensor digiti minimi, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is that? So this is the muscle that you're going to see right here in this highlighter green. It is tiny baby muscle for a tiny baby finger. Extensor digiti minimi is the extension of the finger, tiny finger muscle. So your pinky muscle has its own little extension muscle, which is crazy to think about. You could train that bad boy when trying to be polite drinking tea. Sorry, not to fall into stereotypes. But that's the kind of action that you would do to activate or contract that muscle. We have our extensor carpi ulnaris, so same thing like this, except it's on the ulnar side, and we can see that in purple right here onto the pinky side. And then we have our supinator. Oh my goodness, where the heck is it? You can't see it. Heck. Well, the supinator is kind of deep in there anyway, so let's try to see if we can find an individual, image for it. But our supinator is going to be our muscle that, again, is going to bring our palms up to hold that bowl of soup. All these muscles, for the most part, with the exception of the extensor carpi radialis longus, are all going to originate from the lateral epicondyle. My brain stopped. The lateral epicondyle, so again, anatomical position towards the thumb, they're all going to be coming off from here. The only issue or only exception with that, again, is the extensor carpi radialis longus, which is coming up here, and it's originating from the distal 1/3 of the suprachondral ridge of the humerus. Sure. The actions I don't think we really need to talk about. And I don't think we need to talk about the nerve innervation either, because again, we talked about how the back of the arm is pretty much all completely innervated by the radial nerve. So, ta-da! Here are individual photos, but let's get that supinator. Sorry, these are all the same images. It looks like it, right? Let's see. This is the extensor digit. Oh, wait. I'm so sorry. This is the extensor digiti minimi. Look at the muscle all the way to the pinky. This is flexor carpi ulnaris, ending at the ulnar side. The carpals right here, carpal bones. We have our little, like, some positions. Some lovers try positions they can't handle, or scaphoid, or lunate, etc., etc. Again, that's next week's stuff. Please don't ask. And then we also have our supinator, also a tiny muscle similar to the anconeus, but the supinator again is for soup. Supination, holding our bowl of soup. And that is also going to be, by the way, innervating from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. So again, everything is innervating from that, or the common extensor tendon, which is coming off the lateral epicondyle, with the only exception, again, being the ECRL, extensor carpi radialis longus. Supinator? I barely extensor. Thank you, Julian. I'm going to dominate the tri-state area with my supinator. You can, but just be careful, because we'll talk about why the supinator is going to play a slightly bigger role in that, okay? Okay. So, any of the muscles that we just talked about, any of the extensors, any, are going to be responsible for lateral tendinopathy, okay? Okay. And then we talked about, again, how that's not from the extensor common tendon, the ECRL, coming from the ridge, blah, 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 blah. This is just a list of all the muscles that do come off the common extensor, and we talked about that. Again, the longest, the supinator, I guess, doesn't come off that. The longest, the supinator. What other muscle are we missing? It's only 5, right? No, it's 6. Huh? Yeah, okay, so it's only the longest and the supinator that do not come off the common extensor tendon. All the other extensor muscles do. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Alright, skip it, because we only have so much time. if we had to pick blame on any kind of muscle for a lateral tendinopathy, we have to understand that what was it? It was the pronator teres that would be our most common muscle for medial tendinopathy. So our most common muscle for lateral tendinopathy is going to be the extensor carpi radialis brevis. So right here, our extensor carpi radialis brevis is a strong, look at that, look how long it is too. It's a strong wrist extender. And again, our wrist extension is like the flick of a hand. Like, you know, you bring the back of your hand, well, back. Like for like a slap or something, I guess. That is probably not the best way to describe wrist extension, but the only way coming to mind. Or wait, like the tuck to the hand, like, don't talk to me. That kind of wrist extension, that muscle in the back of your hand is being activated. And I'm sure even if you do the silly like motion with me of like, oh no, tuck to the hand, you can feel that muscle contract. Again, super strong wrist extensor. And so we do a lot of hand extension, I guess, to some degree. So if we were, or let's not say any of us, let's say we had a patient and we're trying to diagnose them, which we don't diagnose in my field, but if we had to have some speculations and a hypothesis, they may have lateral tendinopathy because of this muscle, the extensor carpi radialis brevis. They bring up this concept of like old terms that you may see with tendinopathy, and it may be referred to as like epicondylitis or epicondylalgia. Those are terms you may see, but again, it's all the same thing about inflammation of the tendon at that particular area, okay? We'll skip this. We'll skip this. We'll talk about this. So this is actually really interesting. So not only is the supinator just like a super fun, what do you call it? Oh no. Sorry, my classmates keep messaging me and they're messaging me good stuff like, oh, make sure to remember this. I'm like, okay, I'll talk about it then. Alright. Our supinator. Sorry. Let me get a good view of this. So again, this muscle right here in green, that's going to be the muscle that's going to help us roll over the tri-state area. The supinator is one of the muscles that are not a part of the common extensor tendon, but it is going to be coming off the lateral epicondyle, the humerus, the annual ligament, and the radial collateral ligament. You can kind of see it there. The supinator, the strong supinator. But the important reason why I'm stopping to focus on this is about nerves, which again we're going to be talking about very shortly. Your radial nerve, and again the radial nerve is innervating the whole back of your arm, can get trapped in the supinator. It is because of the nature of how our body is made that our radial nerve pierces through the supinator. And as soon as it pierces through the supinator and exits out, it's known as the posterior interosseous nerve. This is also a really fancy way of saying deep radial nerve. So before our what do you call it? Our radial nerve pierces, it's referred to as the superficial radial nerve. And then once it pierces and goes through here, this is going to be our deep radial nerve. Our superficial radial nerve is going to be responsible for sensory. So S and S. S is the first letter in each sensory and superficial, so we'll kind of have that relation. So anything with sensation and pain, like, I feel this, is, and maybe like your typical like nerve pinching symptoms is what you're going to feel if you have superficial radial nerve involvement. But for deep radial nerve, it's only motor. A person may feel achy or kind of like sore if they have some kind of entrapment, but most of the time it's kind of like, hey, I can't move this and I'm achy, and it's like, oh, okay, this is definitely like a deep radial nerve or a posterior interosseous nerve. Again, those names are interchangeable. Center nerve jail, I know, the audacity, right? What is the difference? Okay. So again, they add blue questions in here with a bunch of typos, as you can tell that I didn't have the audacity to fix. But what is the difference between epicondylitis and epicondylia? I don't know if I'm saying that right, and I apologize. So I was told that there is no difference. They're both considered umbrella terms. I googled it and I got slightly different results, but in the end of the day, it's some kind of inflammation of the tendon that's going to be causing pain, basically. Shrug. So even though we say these are like really outdated terms, can we still describe it as a pathology? If someone's like, yeah, I have lateral epicondyle, is that like incorrect? No, not necessarily. They are most likely present with that pathology. The issue is just in our world of rehab and all that is that that's not a TSI. A TSI is referred to as tissue specific impairment, so it's just basically not specific enough. Okay, you have that, but what muscle does it involve? We saw the list of muscles that can contribute anything to like a medial, an anterior or posterior or lateral tendinopathy, but how specific can we get, and how can we test, and how can we single out one muscle? Yes, we learned about the common muscles that can be associated with certain type of tendinopathies, but hey, maybe it's not that one for whatever reason. Again, that's why having these kind of testings and history taking and all that other stuff is going to be super duper important whenever I start treating 2 years from now. Anyway, so we kept trying the word tendinopathy. What is it again? So again, it's an inflammation of a tendon, and this normally happens. This inflammation happens when there's an overuse injury. So you'll hear stuff like about tennis elbow and golfer's elbow. If you ask me the difference, I forget. One of them is lateral, one of them is medial, and it's just escaping my head. Go! Hi pals, hi, welcome. Thank you so very much for the tier 1 sub for 29 whole hecking months. 29 whole hecking months. Where has the time gone? Actually, I have no idea. But thank you for your continued support as a sugar bear. I appreciate you very much. Let me give you a whole hecking shout out. Hello pals. I don't know where I really don't know where the time has gone. Cries, sobs, tears. All of it's gone to my schoolwork. Dies. Kara's head pats. Heck. I have this. Ta-da! I cry every time. Thank you, Galmer. No problem, Galmer. Alright, so Joe, this one's for you, and then I'm gonna take some more sips of water because my mouth is dying. Again, I feel like I haven't spoken in years for somehow, and I'm just learning how to speak again. So, and a 1, and a 2, and scooby-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. POV, you are a pet hamster? If you were a hamster, I would hold you in the palm of my hand and give a little smooch on the forehead. Mwah. Dice. Thank you for the kiss headbutts. So thank you. Big kiss to have me. Da 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 da. Karma says, study question. What muscle would you expect to be more developed in a Pokemon trainer? Basically a baseball pitcher. Versus a Bakugan duelist. Basically a volleyball player. I like your question. We'll actually talk about a baseball player example if you wanna stay tuned. Chilling's like, Dr. Tipanya, PhD upon graduating? Where has the time gone? I am now approaching this certain age, and I am fearful for my life. Alright, let me take a big sip. POV, you're about to be Yotsu. Yotsu out the window? Yo? Yeet? You're about to be I will never throw anyone out the window. That's irresponsible, and I would have to face responsibilities, and I already have too many responsibilities. I don't want to be responsible for No thank you. No thank you. Alright. Tendinopathy. So, what is this exactly again? So what happens with tendinopathy is that we have identified it as an overuse injury. So this is going to be an injury that we associate with something that happens over time. So the onset of this occurring is going to be very gradual. Definitely again some kind of overuse injury. So maybe some kind of super duper Pokemon trainer or Condyles, doing a constant repetitive action that's placing that stress, and they're just overusing, certain muscles, and their tendons become inflamed. Most patients are above the age of 35 years old when this happens. So look out, Cubs, in the next whatever amount of years you have left. Pain will be localized to the region of the elbow related to the tendinopathy. So this is just, again, a very localized pain, not diffuse, not anything like that. Like they could point to and be like, yeah, it hurts here. And it's like, okay. So contraction and or lengthening of the involved muscles is going to most likely provoke the symptoms, just because, again, it's stressing it. And specific palpation to the tissues involved is most likely going to provoke the pain as well. Because, yeah, they can localize the pain and point to it, and you decide, oh, let me press down on it. You're most likely going to be able to replicate their symptoms. It's not fun. So, what are some common examination findings? So, what we can find is if we do an MSTT. So, this is really interesting. So, we talked about MMT, right? The manual muscle test, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to try to break this person's form, basically. I'm going to apply this amount of pressure against gravity and try to grade them. And if they can't make it against gravity, well, then we'll make alternatives and solutions and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. MSTT is the step below MMT. MSTT is, oh my goodness, muscle selective tension testing, I believe, is the full title for it. And this is where instead of using like your whole hand, you're gonna use a finger to resist someone. And what happens with that one finger, like let's say, let me see if I could just pull up an example really quick for you, Cubs, because I feel like I'm a very visual person. Let's see, can we do MSTT of the elbow? I'm getting boxing. Eh? Why am I getting boxing? Muscle selective tissue tension test elbow. Eh? This isn't a good video. And this is just a guy talking. Oh no, we're never gonna find it. Maybe I will look at this video. But if I look at this video, I'm gonna get flashbacks to my classes. Alright, just bear with me and use your imagination, Cubs. So for MSTT, again, you're using a finger to resist like what a normal motion would be. And again, that can be really whatever. The purpose of doing this is that you want to assess to see if maybe they have some kind of tendon issue, and doing this MSTT can tell you a lot of valuable results. It can tell you if they have inflammation, or it can even tell you if there's like a tear involved, of whether they have like a partial tear or even like a complete tear of the of the muscle or of the tendon, and that's horrifying. So if they have a strong but painful MSTT, that means that, hey, nothing's torn. They're strong. They're good. But it's super painful, and that might be because of the inflammation that's occurring because we're doing a contraction of that muscle. So that is why we're going to have a strong and painful MSTT. Might be a tendinopathy. Okay, well, how else can we test it now? Let's talk about, stretching it. So if we do the muscle length length test, and we're stretching a muscle and they're having pain with that stretching of the muscle is applying pressure onto that tendon, and that's why there's also going to be pain. Well, what else can we do? Well, also the MLT can help us determine if there's a decreased length present, like if there's like tightness basically of the muscle. Like, yeah, you're not stretching the way you're supposed to be, and that indicates that there's a decreased muscle length, and again, that might lead to tightness or muscle guarding and just more supportive evidence of a tendinopathy, basically, is the TLDR. Big thumbs up emoji button voice, sorry. I didn't mean to poorly explain that, but I'm like, yes. Pain with palpation for tenderness is also another thing, by the way. Again, it's just the pointing at the localized thing, okay? Okay. Now we're gonna get to the nitty gritty, so you have to forgive me, Cubs, okay? Your dog aged you to 35. I'm sorry, Karma. I brought an ergonomic mouse and keyboard recently. I want to prevent any weird wrist, arms, hand pains. Honestly, good on ya. I don't use an ergonomic... yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm saying that wrong. An ergonomic mouse, but I would like to. But, what do you call it? I think, Big Ham has it, and she's been liking it, and I think one of my other friends recently got into it, and they like it. So, yeah. The ergonomic keyboard, though, that's... Are you talking about the one that's, like, split? That's actually... Excuse me. Super duper interesting. I don't know if I can get used to that one though. I do have an ergonomic mouse pad though. I would show you my setup if I could. It's not the world's best setup, but I have like a little squishy gel pad for the keyboard, and then I have a I have an anime mouse pad. Let's just say that. That supports me. So ta-dang. Alright. Tendinopathy is usually the result of another problem. Something is causing the tendon to be overused, irritated, and or inflamed, and we must determine what the cause is. History taken and ability to parallel effectively will be important. Some other factors that can affect the tendon is going to be weak muscle or tight muscle, muscles with poor endurance, tight joint capsule laxities and or instabilities, or overuse. So how do we decide how are we going to treat a tendinopathy? If it's, what do you call it, getting aggravated, isn't it hard to work with? We don't really want to cause pain with the patient. So there's 3 different things that we can do, okay? Mousepad docs incoming. Oh no. I mean, I wouldn't mind. There are aggro keyboards that aren't split, but I have wide shoulders and long arms, so I just went with the true split. I'm much happier, and so is my body. Absolutely no hacking words. I had saw it, but obviously new things to me shouldn't be like, oh no, not an instant like I just feel okay with a regular keyboard. But I won't lie to you, at my hitman job I sometimes do a lot of typing, like a lot, and they have like a flat membrane keyboard, and my keyboard, it's a little chunky. It has like the full keys, and I sometimes when I come home from work, I'm like, my fingers are exhausted from like pressing down on the keys. And I have a what was it, like an MX Cherry Red, and I'm happy with like the sound and normally the quality of it, but right now I'm like, I'm going to switch to a membrane keyboard. Oh my goodness. Hey, what's an anime mouse pad? Let me get you. Let me politely. So anime mouse pad is I don't even want to draw it. I'm not in the drawing. I mean, let me just show you my mouse pad. Let's Google it, okay? Trying to make sure I have the exact one. Oh, it even has like another picture. Let's go. Hold on. I have to take a screenshot of it. Oh my goodness. One moment. And please forgive me. I do think she is best girl. Please, no hate to what you're about to see. If I can get a custom mouse pad eventually, I will have one, but I am a big supporter of the Booba mouse pads. Thank you for coming to my TikTok. Thank you. We will now raid into someone. Imagine, if you will, a mouse pad, but it has huge bazongers. Yeah, basically. Look at this. Look at the wrist support this person's getting. That's me right now. The reds are too loud? Are they? I thought the reds were okay. I don't like clickety clackety keyboards though, to be honest though. I thought blue or browns are supposed to be more clickety clackety. And I'm like, wow, I actually hate that. I also need silence, but I'm okay with my keyboard now. But yeah, this is Booba mousepad. My goal eventually is to make a Tipanya mousepad, but it's not like Booba. It's supposed to be like, I don't know, like East. But that dream is just a dream. Cries, sobs, tears. World's quickest Tipanya. A dream. Okay. Anyway. Back to back to studying. Yeah. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Thank you, Karma. Thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate it. Itty bitty bits. Thank you. I just have to get an artist to agree with me and be like, hey, can you do this? Thank you. Just use 2 books instead? Those are not as cushionier. Those are just not as nice. I may or not be sporting? Huh? A calendar? Wait. I'm googling this. Hold on, Robo. I'm not good with the names. I'm not a keyboard. What do you call it? Expert. I just only know like the bare minimum. Yeah. Navies are a bit stiff and clunky. Oh no. You have the slight noise bias. I couldn't do it. Maybe I'm just like really sensitive to noise though. I don't know. Throws myself out the window. Anyway. Guys, let's get through this section and then I could take like a little baby break because it's almost 3 and we're not at nerve entrapments yet. We're about to be. In like, I don't know. Let's see. 7 more pages. Alright, so how will you treat tendinopathy associated with any of the terms above? So again, we'll be treating tendinopathy that even though the tendon's inflamed and we saw there's different ways to kind of provoke this kind of pain, different things we could do. We can provide low tensile loads. So, you know, you heard the saying, you lose it or, oh my gosh, use it or lose it. Yeah? So, a lot of people when they're in pain, they're like, I don't want to move. I don't want to do anything. Well, that's kind of the opposite that you want to do. You want to move as much as you can, you know, tolerate. So what would be good is to provide low tensile forces or loads to help like strengthen it. And progressively we'll get to eccentrics, which is going to help lengthen the muscle because as we saw, lengthening and stretching the muscle can aggravate it. But if we slowly introduce them to it, it should be okay. And then eventually we'll actually go back into regular normal exercise, which just a tad bit resistance to again help improve their treatment, okay? And hopefully that should resolve some of the symptoms that they may be feeling from tendinopathy. And depending on what stage they are with the tendinopathy, they either can continue this kind of treatment for the rest of their lives, or it can even be like reversed. Atrophy. I've been looking for a low profile flat keyboard too. I have the $15 HP membrane one, but the jump to mechanic can be so much more expensive. It is. Computers are just expensive in general, so I quiet every single time. And let's see. Other things that we could use to assist in identifying tendinopathies, we already talked about. Sometimes the book or the lectures could be very repetitive, but you know, use it or lose it. No, I'm just kidding. We'll just repeat it until we achieve it and then we pass our exam. Yeah. So, same thing, we could do MMT with palpation for tenderness. So again, testing their strength and then also touching at the spot like, this is hurt. We could stretch it, the MLT, and then touch the spot, be like, this is hurt. Or we could just do the muscle selection tension testing. And again, we're looking for seeing if the results come out that they're strong so they can hold against our resistance, but it's painful. If there was a tear, by the way, they would be weak and painful. That would be a partial tear, while a complete tear has no pain whatsoever because it's completely torn. There's nothing to feel, and they would be weak. So just be on the lookout for that. And if you need me to test your tendons, I guess let me know. Let's talk about the fat pad. So one of the cubs asked us about like, what is the squishy part? BRB meeting time? No problem. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Good luck with your meeting. Go big or go home. Just go home. It's like the end of the day, basically. 11 says, I'm gonna go rest, but left the stream open. Gotta work tomorrow. Good luck with stream. Oh, absolutely no hacking problem, 11. Thank you for stopping by. I also appreciate you. Thank you. Please have a good night in the seeds of dreams. Thank you for the look as well. I appreciate you. Thank you. Good luck down the rabbit hole of like, I don't know if you cubs also do this. sometimes when I'm politely looking someone's stream, I'll just leave that tab open, and I love going back and looking at the history and seeing that they rated, like, it was like a chain of like 8 different people that they rated into throughout the day, and I just wake up and there's someone streaming on my tab, and I'm like, who the heck is this? That's my favorite thing to wake up to. Oh, cool, new person follows. Anyway, sorry. So the fat pad. So some couple was asking me what is like the squishiness behind your elbow. Can we just safely assume it's a fat pad? that is to my understanding. Maybe if we can grab another image. This is I believe an MRI that we're looking at. So fat pad elbow. Excuse me. Yeah, unfortunately, all of it's pretty much just MRIs. I apologize, Cubs. Now I had the hiccups too. This is where I die. Alright. I'm sorry, Cubs. That's the best picture I'm gonna get for the fat pad. But the fat pad is very important because it serves as basically protection for our tendons of the muscles that may connect there, any of our ligaments, again, bone-to-bone action, our blood vessels and nerves. And what happens is that this is really important because the fat acts as a cushion, and it's going to provide protection by absorbing any kind of impact, shear force, or pressure with activity. The thing with fat pads, though, is that they're highly nociceptive. Nociceptive is a fancy word of saying that it has a bunch of pain receptors, so it's very sensitive to pain and will tell you if it hurts, basically. The fat pads are, what do you call it? Tissue that pretty much fills in between the space between the tendons of our muscles and anything between the joint lines of any of the articulations that we were talking about earlier. The fat pads tend to also frequently blend in with like the joint capsule, so yay. So the interesting thing with the fat pad, and I don't think I really have any images, but remember that cone-shaped muscle we were talking about, the anconeus? Yeah. Go! Titanium! I saw Raw Gaming and I'm like, Roar XD Gaming! And I'm so sorry, I have to stop messing up Cubs names. Titanium, thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cub Club. Welcome. I promise I know how to read. Oh my goodness. Can I develop my fat pads by eating burgle? Maybe. I am sure some kind of nutrition would be really good. Burgers are not totally bad for you, you know? Might be slightly biased, so I am not a medical doctor or a nutritionist. Everything I say is my very poorly educated opinion. Alright. So the anconeus, which I'm too lazy to grab a photo. We'll get photos in a little bit, Cubs, so please forgive me. But what happens is that cone-shaped triangular muscle that attaches to that lateral epicondyle that we were talking about earlier is going to pull the fat pad. So it's going to attach to the fat pad and assist in pulling it out of the joint with elbow extension. And because of that muscle helping it pull, it's going to, decrease the potential for impingement, which is a great thing. You never want anything impinged. And remember, impingement is the closing or the something stuck in between something, basically, which is why I'm so excited to talk about nerve entrapments, but it's still a few pages away. That's also a type of impingement, and you don't want an impingement of a fat pad. Thank God for our anconeus, am I right? Because we just talked about the fat pad having so many nociceptors, or those pain receptors, that if there was impingement, our body would be screaming at us basically for it. But the fat pad can become irritated just like our tendons, and again, tendons, muscle, of bone, because of mobility problems at the elbow or maybe some trauma. Imagine falling instead of doing a foosh injury. Remember, F-O-O-S-H, the falling on outstretched hand injury. Maybe you fell on your elbow, and that kind of trauma disturbed the fat pad, and now you just hurt. It's inflamed, it's angry. That's a possibility of why it can be irritated. But if we were to do any intervention to it, basically, is that we'll just try to decrease it. We can do it through medications, we could do it through mobilizations. There's different things we could do, and hopefully whoever we get to treat in the future will react great, to our first treatment. And we don't have to proceed with anything else because the articles that I was reading did not really provide me much direction of how to treat a fat pad, which sounds really silly. But this is fascinating. Thank you. I have an elbow test later today, so politely regurgitating my notes. But welcome to a couple of chat. Welcome. Rondo says learning how to fall right is legit one of the best skills you can learn. For real, honestly, because there's so many ways you can just hack up your body with just a fall, and it's so unfortunate. But hi Rondo, hi, welcome as well. So I wrote mobilization. We'll figure it out. If I have time at the end, we'll figure it out, okay? Let's see. Someone asked a question. If a patient has posterior elbow pain at end range, elbow extension, so their arm is fully straightened, and there's neither a fat pad problem or capsular problem, what is the source of posterior pain that is given with the pain that's generated during active extension? So the answer to that is going to be a posterior tendinopathy. Maybe they're having pain with their tricep or their anconeus, because those again are only two muscles that are located on the back of our arm, not the forearm, but the back of our arm, the opposite of our biceps. Oh my goodness. All right, let's move on to ligamentous pathologies. We'll talk about the MCL and LCL. I think I have a better, yeah. But I think I gave up with the LCL. No, I didn't. Okay, thank hecking goodness. So let's talk about ligamentum pathologies. We'll talk about the lateral collateral ligament, the LCL. I will not say the full name. Or the medial collateral ligament, the MCL. So let's first talk about the MCL. These again are named in respective direction, whether it's medial or lateral in anatomical position. And these are ligaments, again, bone on bone, connective tissues right here, that are going to help us with elbow stability. Because in addition to the articulations, we need some stability through our ligaments, and there's different kinds on each side, and MCL is just a very common one that you're going to see, and we'll explain just why in a moment. So MCL it's a little chunky with information, but bear with me, okay? So the MCL can also be referred to as the ulnar collateral ligament, or the UCL. And what happens is that you see this triangle shape that it's creating in orange? This fan shape is providing stability against valgus stress. Remember, valgus has that L in it, so it's going to prevent lateral forces. So again, even though this is on the medial side and we put ourselves in anatomical position with our arms to the side, palms facing out, if we were to have a force that jabs us, like a strong force, please don't replicate this, on our lateral side or coming out, in? How do you say it? Oh my goodness. Let's draw a picture, Cubs. Let's see. Poor me. Has my arm here. And this is where my MCL is. But then I don't know, someone decides to glomp me. And they're like, yeah. I'm gonna stop. But if someone decides to, like, I don't know, push directly into my arm, they're providing a valgus force because it's coming out laterally, and we know again laterally is out from our side. And what happens is that the MCL is supposed to protect us from that, but what if the glomp is too strong? So this excessive force, it may lead to, what do you call it, that fracture of the radial head that we're talking about. Again, radial head being on our thumb side, and I might end up with some wacky problems just because this harmless glomp. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. That's only breaks again if there's excess force, but for the most part we can withstand a little bit. Again, that's why we have these ligaments. It's supposed to provide stability against these stresses. This is going to be very particular when our elbow is in about 20 to 130 degrees of flexion. So remember, if we're making a 90-degree angle with our arms are to the side, and I say flex your elbow, and you're making a right angle with your arm, 20 degrees is like zeros to your side. So anything slightly up beyond your side to not exactly straight up, you're good with your what do you call it, your ligament basically. And this can go with flexion and extension. Excuse me, convention veterans know that there's no such thing as a harmless clump. Listen, back in my day, you would just, how do you call it? Make yourself smaller, and you'll you'll see it coming, and it's just like, okay, how do I make myself smaller? Oh no! It's just like hug yourself, you know? Like, oh no, you're gonna glump me? Oh no! Alright, we're putting this picture away. But yeah, no, we're good. The MCL has its fan shape because of the different portions that we have. The MCL is made out of 3 components. So we have a anterior band, a posterior band, and a transverse band. So the anterior band is going to be known as the strongest or stiffest portion, and we can see right here. Anterior means front, posterior is going to be behind, and transverse is more like horizontal right here. So our triangle shape right here. So the anterior band right here in the front is going to be our strongest and stiffest. It's connected to the medial epicondyle, so we can see right here in medial epicondyle because it is the medial collateral ligament, MCL, and it's going to connect to the coronoid process. So remember how we said the ulna bone and it had that C-shaped process? So that C-shaped process is the olecranon, but the tip of the C is basically your coronoid process, and so it's going to attach from there to there onto the ulna. The anterior band is going to function primarily within that arms to the side to about 60 degrees of flexion, but throughout the entire thing, it's going to be involved in all motions throughout the entire range, 0 to 180 degrees of flexion. Again, because it's on the medial side, it's going to be a stabilizer for valgus load. And what happens is that this portion, the anterior band, gets repaired with a Tommy John surgery. And you know, they talked about it a little bit. I really don't know what a Tommy John surgery is. So let's learn about it. A Tommy John surgery, more formally known as the ulnar collateral ligament reconstruction, is used to repair a torn ulnar collateral ligament inside the elbow. Some people, typically athletes who play joint sports, may experience UCL tears and may need surgical repairs. The UCL reconstruction surgery involves harvesting a tendon from your own body or from a donor and attaching it as a new UCL. There you go, the allograft and the autografts. Ta-da! So basically, there you go. Your baseball players might need a Tommy John surgery because maybe conservative treatment such as therapy may not work. So boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Alright, one quick sip of water, one moment. Oh my gosh, the triangle. Oh my gosh, you're right. It is. Illuminati. Alright, let us do this. Alright, so our posterior band. So we saw the posterior band right behind here. We can also see other photos and we'll see it right here as well, forming a triangle. This is a fan-like ligament in itself, and it widens at its attachment. It's going to be inserting at the same place, the medial epicondyle, but it's going to be inserting itself into the olecranon process, so more towards the back, that again, the back of that C shape of the ulna that we're talking about. It's going to become the most taut or tight at about 90 degrees of flexion. So again, that right triangle with your arms, the robot beep boop arms. And lastly, the MCL has the transverse band, and that's going to connect directly below the coronoid process. So it's like the anterior, basically, coming out from the medial. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Now I'm connecting from the medial. Connecting from the olecranon process, so all the way back here. Here, you can see it even here as well, and connecting to below the coronoid process. Da-da. This is going to blend the transverse band is going to blend in with the joint capsule. And the reason why this transverse band is super important is because it's going to act as the floor of the cubital tunnel. So, Cubs, we are 2 hours into our stream to explain what the heck and why the heck your elbow is considered your funny bone. So this is considered your cubital tunnel, and the transverse band is the flooring to it. What happens is that through this tunnel, a nerve runs through, and that nerve is going to be your ulnar nerve. And what happens is that when you hit it, you go, ow, like you hit your elbow really hard, you have like this like tingling funny quotation mark like sensation when you hit your elbow too hard, it's most likely because you hit the cubital tunnel area or you hit the ulnar nerve, and then you have that weird sensation. So you're like, ah, and that is all. That is why we have this 2-hour stream. Thank you for coming to my tip talk again. Really appreciate it. Anyway, the MCL is going to be more frequently injured than the LCL, and the injuries might be what do you call it, acute or insidious, with repetitive activity. So it might be acute as in something may happen, like just suddenly, or it might be something that just happens over time with repetitive activities. Acute injuries are more commonly related to foosh and or throwing or pulling aggressively when the hand is away from the body. So think of like throwing positions, or again like your baseball players, the pitchers specifically. Karma says, I used to think that the elbow was hilarious, and then I took an arrow to the knee. Thank you, Karma. Thank you for your dedication to the thank you for your service. Hi Monte, by the way. Hi. Welcome. Oh my goodness. Owie, my elbow nerve. Owie, fly away. Owie, fly away. No worries. Alright. So question. What special tests have you been taught to assist you in confirming or refuting your hypothesis generation of potential MCL? Yeah, that looks like a jumble of stuff. It's basically saying, what cool test could we do to see if there is an MCL pathology, if there's something wrong with the MCL? Well, we can do things called the MCL stress test. So we stress it. We basically put the person in this position and we replicate a valgus force. So you see this person's arm right here? He's going to produce a valgus, again, lateral force onto the elbow. And if he does that and the patient's like, ow, what the actual hecky, I have pain, and you notice that there's increased movement of the elbow on that side, then yeah, they are positive for something wrong with their MCL. You can also do a moving valgus, which is the same thing, but what happens with this is that you bend the elbow. Oh my goodness, let me read the instructions because this one's wonky. You position the shoulder 90 degrees of abduction and 120 degrees of elbow flexion. You apply a modest valgus torque. I didn't spell valgus right. Valgus torque to the elbow until the shoulder reaches full external rotation. Apply valgus force. I don't remember. I wish I had this in gift form, but it's moving because it's definitely more active. I can't remember if it's like you're extending it out and making that torque with it. I can't read my own instructions, but it's also been like 2 semesters since I've done this test, so I apologize. But the idea in itself is that basically it's also supposed to replicate that kind of pain sensation that they may have had, and that they may be positive of having an MCL tear or any kind of pathology related to the MCL. So now we talked a good chunk of the MCL because, again, that's something more frequently injured. Let's move on to the LCL, or our lateral collateral ligament. But first, hi Evan, hi, welcome. Hello again. Alright, the LCL is more of a complex rather than like one specific ligament. So we're not really going to talk about like the different bands like we did for the MCL. We're just going to pretty much just group it, but we can't talk about the nature of it. So the LCL is going to blend with the annual ligament, which in turn it approximates the radial head to the ulna, so we can see that here, annual ligament, and it's blending in right there. Therefore, pathologies to the LCL may be contributing factors to radial head laxities. Laxities, by the way, are just there's more movement than anticipated, basically. It's lax, it's relaxed. Is all this going to the exam? Yeah. This is what I studied in my pomodoros. All of this, all 86 pages, which I'm not going to go through all 86 pages. I think I'm going to go about like 60 pages with you cubs and then politely wrap up. I know Rip is streaming right now too. Not to say anything, but hopefully I can catch her. Good luck, Tip. Thank you. Hold on, let me I say Rip is streaming, but I definitely did not tune into her stream. Hold on. Let me politely lurk. And also give a shout out because I love her. Hold on. She's playing Pokemon Infinite Fusion and I want to play that game. I've been like itching to play like a, how do you call it? A Pokemon game for goodness knows whatever reason. So when I saw the direct and I saw the Pokemon DLC, I'm like, I can't hate the game because I really like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm interested in the DLC enough to like maybe purchase it, you know? Oh, Cubs, speaking of which, hold on. I heard great news. I'm gonna link the great news to you, Cubs. Sorry for this Twitter post. But if you have the Nintendo online stuff, you can buy the vouchers. And the vouchers were good for like, you know, Breath of the Wild and some other game because Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom and another game because for $100 you can get 2 games and each game is like normally like $60 each. But you're saving like $10 to $20 depending on whatever. But they just added the new games that they talked about in the direct. So please do check that out if you're interested. They have games like WarioWare and Super Mario RPG and all that other stuff. I think the voucher would be really neat because I actually am interested in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, as well as RPG because I never played it. I didn't even know the puppet guy was in there. I knew of the puppet guy, I just didn't even know he was from a Mario game. That's how out of touch I am with the world, unfortunately. Woohoo! Woohoo! Pokemon Scarlet definitely went places I didn't expect it to go. Me either. Sorry, this is going off topic, but I heard the battle music for the end games right now, recently, and I got emotions. I got goosebumps. I'm like, this theme song for the end was like great, amazing, nostalgic. Oh my goodness, that's such a good deal. I'm right. Nintendo, please. Nintendo, please. Anyway, LCL. So, because the LCL is blending in with that annual ligament, and the annual ligament is like the only thing really holding the the radius bone to the humerus. That's why, what do you call it? If there's a pathology of the LCL, that might also be a reason of why we can move the radial head so much, or why it's presenting with so much laxity. There's 3 primary mechanisms of injuries that can lead to this. So we can have varus elbow stress, so not valgus, varus. So instead of lateral force, we're gonna have force coming medially, which is a little bit weird because your body or your torso is more midline, but there are some cases where you can get like an excessive varus elbow stress and potentially tear the LCL that way. Elbow dislocations, maybe you have such a bad whoosh injury, the falling on outstretched hand injury, where you just break both ligaments and bones on there, you just heck up your whole entire elbow. Have no idea how you do that, but that is also a possibility. And I forget how to say this word. Iatrogenic? Let me see. Google, be my friend.
Iatrogenic. Iatrogenic.
And this is going to be relating to illness caused by medical examination or treatment causes. So basically, maybe there's some like weird drug side effect, or maybe there's some treatment or surgery, and I don't know. Anything can happen basically. Sure is a word, can confirm is a word. Oh my goodness. One population that may be more susceptible to LCL pathologies are those people with significant weight-bearing activities and responsibilities that may cause repetitive varus forces to the elbow. If you're in this category, watch out. Alright, let's move on. Nerve entrapments, let's go! Alright, Cubs, I'm taking a little baby break. I'm taking a baby break. I'm going to be right back really quick, and then we can explain the nerve stuff, and I could try to explain stuff, okay? Okay. I'll be back really quick because we have to cram more of this anyway because it's almost 3:30, which is crazy. It's insane. Alright, BRB. Have a good break. Thank you. It won't be long, I promise. Alley-oop. Okay, I'm back. I probably should have grabbed more water before this, but it's okay. We're good. ASD, thank you so very much for the follow, by the way. Welcome to the Cub Club. Welcome, 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 welcome. And thank you for the welcome back, Cubs. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, Jen, by the way. Hi, Fair. I see you. I observe. I welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, little baby break with my limited water. We'll see where it goes. But dun, 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 dun. Alright, so let's talk about nerves really quick before we could talk about its entrapments, because me saying stuff probably won't help. Let's get some foundational knowledge really quick. So, I can't see my mouse, hold on. So, here are all the nerve innervations for our hand and arm. So, let's talk about the back first, because like I said, a good majority of the back muscles are going to be a radial nerve, and we can see that here because look at this. All our radial nerve is going to be right here in red, and this is the back because here's our elbow right here, and again it's going to innervate muscles such as the anconeus and the tricep brachii, which is going to be right here. Our axillary nerve, don't worry about it, it's more for like our deltoids, and yeah, we're not there anymore. The ulnar nerve we could see right here in the blue, Da-da. The musculocutaneous nerve is running down through here, but this is not really super accurate. Well, it's not that's not accurate. We know that the musculocutaneous nerve is going to innervate like our biceps, so it gets a little bit innervation from here. Da-da, da-da. We also know it's for our brachialis, but brachialis is also going to be innervated by the radial nerve, and we can see that here and here. And we also know the brachial radialis is going to also be innervated by the radial nerve. So da-da, da-da. Ronzo says I gotta hop off now. Good luck studying. Thank you so much. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Have a good one. Thank you for stopping by. And oh my goodness, when one cub leaves, another one returns. Hi, Atomic. Hi. Welcome back. Welcome. Just talking about nerve stuff. Alright. From there, we could talk about the median nerve, which just is a little wonky. Hold on. The median nerve should be all this blue and this yellow as well. Huh? Why does it look like this? Woohoo. But we will make a actual distinction really quick because this is super important. So the median nerve on the hand is correct. So the median nerve is going to innervate all 3 fingers, digit 1, 2, 3, half of 4. The remaining of half of 4 and 5, which is our pinky finger and half our ring finger, is going to be innervated by the ulnar nerve, okay? So with the ulnar nerve, what's going to happen from here is that it innervates this half and innervates the opposite half of the dorsal half of the hand. Well, the median is, oh my gosh, how do you explain it? Median nerve is going to be all these 3 fingers, but when you flip it over on the dorsal side, it's only going to be the tips of these fingers. While the ulnar nerve has both the back and front of that half of the 4th digit and the 5th digit. The rest of the dorsal part is going to be from the radial nerve, and that's going to be like the dorsum of the hand, and knowing that innervation is going to be super important for one of the like quiz questions that I'll review in a little bit. So with that, I think we're okay, kind of. Nerves are a little bit tricky, but we'll talk about them more in depth on multiple occasions. So median nerve entrapment. So if you recall, the median nerve innervated a bunch of muscles. Remember that mnemonic, the FPFP, with the flexor digitorum profundus and superficialis? Yeah. So our median nerve is going to be traveling on the anterior side of our arm, the front side of our forearm. It's going to innervate all those muscles, but along the way it can get trapped in a few places, and not all the places are listed here. Again, when we go over some of the notes a little bit later in the document, again, a lot of this is going to be repetition. So the median nerve, common entrapment sites is that it can get trapped at, oh, actually it's right here, one of them that's missing, the supracondylar process, which is weird. It's like a small little bump off the bone, which is actually a structural anomaly. There you go. Same with the ligament of Strutter's? Ooh. Both these two are going to be anomalies that not every person or every cub has, basically. But these are possible sites of entrapments for those who do have it. Anomaly. Anomaly. Heck, my speech impediment. Anyway, so those are the 2 potential places where it can get stuck. Other places where it can get stuck, and I don't have a good picture of this one, is the bicep aponeurosis. So the bicep aponeurosis is, please forgive me. You know, like your elbow pit, basically in the front? That's where your bicep aponeurosis is. And then your carpal tunnel is where you're most familiar with. That's going to be at the wrist. And again, I think I have better pictures of that. But all 5 of those structures, again, we'll just type it out really quick. Supracondylar process. All 5 of these structures are potential places where the median nerve can get stuck or entrapped. And what happens with entrapments is that pretty much it cuts off a lot of the sensation anywhere else, unfortunately. So let's say you do get entrapped, let's say up here, all the other muscles, especially like motor, may have like weakness, they may have like pain, they may have sensory loss. It really just depends on how it got pinched, but basically everything distal or past that entrapment is heck out of luck with innervation. It's just cut off. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And the same will go for other ones, but again, we'll talk about in particular in just a little bit of how that may present. Like, how can we tell the difference between a pronator teres syndrome and like carpal tunnel? Ivan says you're amazing. Thank you. My self-esteem is rising as we speak. The way you go over the material takes all the intimidation. Is it the speech impediment? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't think anatomy should be scary, but gosh darn it, do they make it horrifying. Alright. So, radial nerve entrapment site. So again, radial nerve, the triceps and the anconeus, all the back arm muscles, are going to be most likely entrapped at the supinator. Ooh. And the ECRB, the extensor carpi radialis brevis. So right here in the yellows are supinator. And then we could see right here in the orange, we could see the extensor carpi radialis brevis. We can also see it in, This is the deep version of it, like if we peeled out a layer of muscles. But this is the superficial version of it, and it would be right here in the blue. I'm like, why do they look like completely different images? It's because I think this is the palm of the hand and this is the back of the hand. Heck up. Wait. No, don't heck up. I just don't know how to read. This is the front. This is the back of the hand. Except this is extensor pollicis longus brevis. This is muscles particular to the thumb. But you can see the supinator at least. You can't see the supinator as much here, and even though this is a deeper muscle layer, this is still your superficial muscle layer on the other side, like where your palm's up. No, it's not. Hold on. Anatomy teacher, please don't hate me. Hold on. I'm trying. No, everything's in the back of the hand. All your extensors are in the back. This is a deeper layer. This is a superficial layer. So if you were to peel this, you would see this. End of story. All right. So extensor carpi radialis longus, which is right up here, because we know it inserts onto the distal 2/3 of the humerus. Da-da! And then we have our brevis, which is right under here, the smaller muscle. Da-da! And then if we peel this off, we would get the yellow and the supinator. So the radial nerve could be entrapped in either two of those places, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And just to get the ulnar nerve out of the way really quick before I have a mental a bit. The ulnar nerve, again, anything that's innervated by the pinky side can get stuck at the cubital tunnel, which we talked about earlier, if you recall. Not that you have to, but remember we talked about the MCL, the medial collateral ligament. Which ligament makes the floor of the cubital tunnel? If you answered transverse band of the MCL, you would be correct. And again, that makes the floor of the cubital tunnel, which is where the ulnar nerve passes through and can get entrapped in. It can get entrapped in any of the flexor forearm muscles, so our FPFP, our pronator teres, or flexor carpi radialis, etc., etc. Transverse, let's go, Karma, let's go! Sorry, Karma, I'll read the thing, I promise. And then there's also the tunnel of Guyon's canal, which is right there on the hand, wrist area. And this is another popular place where you can get entrapped. There's Streamlag, totally didn't cheat. No, you're good. Carmen says, oh, so that's why when you do a Spider-Man hand, there's a certain angle where you don't feel your middle finger and you go wiggle like a sausage? What? That made me uncomfortable. I don't want to wiggle my fingers like what do you call it? Like a sausage. Oh my goodness. Spooky. Why do I have a blank page? Heck. Alright, so we're gonna basically regurgitate the same information about entrapment until I memorize this, until we're good and Gucci and life is good. Okay? Okay. So, medial entrapments, again, can be stuck in either one of these places. So, median nerve, again, is gonna be, what do you call it? Wait, no, hold on. No, yeah, okay. Anyway, median nerve is going to be, again, a big innervator for a lot of the anterior forearm muscles that we have, correct? But it can get stuck in those 5 different places. We have, again, the supracondylar process, which is also, by the way, is known as the avian spur, like, you know, a bird, like, caw. But again, this is an anatomical anomaly, so there's not really a chance of having this, you know? And what do you call it? We had the ligament of struters, which is also an anatomical anomalies. So that's also a possibility if you are just a weirdo inside, I guess. We have the pronator teres syndrome again, and we'll talk about that more in detail because we have a whole dedicated section to it down below. We have the bicep aponeurosis, which I think I have a picture somewhere here. Yeah. I do down there, and the carpal tunnel. So dang, hummel. Hi, Big Ham. Hi. Welcome. It's a thing I learned in elementary school. The kids are weird. Brother, go back to playing your recorders and trying to, like, I don't know, touch your nose with your tongue. What the heck, wiggly? Like, it's just so uncomfortable. No, that's fine. It sounds neat. How do you do Spider-Man and also wiggle your middle finger, though, you know? Heck. Anyway. Though there are these multiple locations of where the median nerve can get stuck in, your median nerve, how do you call it, will most likely get stuck in one of two places out of these 5. It's most likely going to be the pronator teres or the carpal tunnel. But for most people who are not us gamers, it's going to be for the pronator teres, and we can reproduce these symptoms by either contracting the muscle and applying that pressure, or lengthening the muscle and again applying that pressure by the stretching. Unfortunately, if it is a structural anomaly, sorry, what's gonna happen is that we can't really do too much as rehab people. But we can recommend them, I mean, maybe not us, but their doctors can recommend them to get surgery. And they do this thing called, it's what is the name? I thought they had a surgery name for it. Heck. And it's some kind of reconstruction surgery where they just move the nerve. So they'll move it, and obviously after surgery you're a little bit like immobile, so then we come in and be like, oh, let's move you. Yeah. So we go from there, and then we help them with any of our median nerve, innervations, and help strengthen the muscles again. And a lot of that again is going to be especially for our wrist flexion, like wrist flexions. Yeah, smile emoji. My anatomy's going out the window. I'm so scared, Cubs. Hi, Garland. Hi. Welcome. Nice bone structure. Tipanya, thank you. I appreciate it. I grew it myself, I think. Alright. Go! Team power! Thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cub Club. Welcome. Alright. So let's look at this really quick. Like, zoom in. So we said one of the places where it can get stuck, by the way, is the bicep aponeurosis. So it's cut right here, but it's just this. Again, it's like the little pit in your elbow. Not the pit in your elbow, but like the opposite of your elbow. The little fold when you bend your arm, little elbow pit, that's going to be where your bicipital aponeurosis is going to be. And so it kind of actually comes to like a different issue that we haven't talked about, and I kind of vaguely wrote some notes that my classmate let me know on, so we'll try to clarify it together if that's okay. So you can have medial nerve entrapment to either the pronator teres or the bicipital fascia. So what's going to happen is that these symptoms are going to present differently. So let's read what my classmate told me. Oh my goodness gracious. Cubs, I won't lie to you, I might randomly disconnect at one point, so just ignore that if that happens, okay? Anyway, so if there is an entrapment of the pronator teres, I believe that the pronator is not weak because the nerve has already passed through the pronator teres at that point. But if there was an entrapment at the bicipital fascia, yes, that what would happen is that then the pronator teres would be weak. Yeah. It's again, it's just like where it cuts off. Let me try to read it. This is like the notes I wrote, so I'm like, oh my goodness. Pronator teres not weak, muscle belly, not nerve. Huh? What did I literally wrote this right before stream when we had a conversation. Let's see. Not nerve. Why did I write conversation? Not weak. Entrapment bicep. Aponeurosis. Aponeurosis is weak because above the pronator teres are still strong. I might have my friend clarify with this. Sorry, classmate. I'm coming back for you. We'll just put it in highlighter red. So I could be like, oh, can you clarify that again? I don't know because I am dummy. Alright, let's move away from the median nerve. Let's do the radial nerve. Again, the whole back of the hand. And we need to understand where the sensory is for it as well. So, neat. Alright, so the radial nerve is going to split. So we're going to have our deep radial nerve and our superficial branch. And it's going to bifurcate around the elbow joint. Oh, actually, hold on. Before I completely forget. And it hex me over somehow, some way. Alright. Sorry, there's a backup in case I randomly die. Alright. So remember, with these two branches, they're going to have different purposes and functions, okay? So the deep is going to be for motor only. Because the radial nerve is both sensory and motor, but once it splits off, that deep is only motor and not sensory. While the superficial is sensory, but not motor. And again, we could do the S and S, superficial branch, sensory only. And it's going to provide sensory to a dorsal aspect of the hand. So remember the picture we were just looking at right now? Sorry. Remember, even though this picture is a little zoomed out, that it's going to cover the pinky and half of the forefinger on both sides, whether it's the dorsum or the dorsal side of the palm, or in the front, the palmar side of, well, the palm or of the hand. So that's where it's going to help innervate, and then again, our deep is going to be our motor. So where are the common sites of radial entrapment again? It's going to be the supinator and the ECRB, external carpi radialis brevis. Excuse me. So here's a really interesting thing about these nerves. Yes, though these are common entrapment sites, they're actually distinguishable between each nerve. So, what the heck does that mean? Soon to be Dr. Tipanya. That's not a medical doctor, by the way. What this means is that the superficial branch, let me scroll down so you can also read along with this. The superficial branch typically branches off prior to the supinator. So if there was some kind of entrapment, it will most likely be entrapped at the ECRB. So we could see it right here. This is supposed to be the ECRB muscle. And it most likely gets entrapped right here during this fascia. But what happens is that if it gets entrapped, again, there's only going to be sensory symptoms. So they're going to feel like a tingling or a numbness, something like that. But they're still probably going to have like their strength and still be able to pass MMTs. The deep radial nerve is gonna most likely get stuck at the supinator. So, do I not have any other pictures? No? Heck, it's most likely gonna get stuck in the supinators, and again, that's gonna present with our motor problems. So, ta-da! Easy peasy lemon squeezy. The only thing that's really interesting that I still want to get down really quick is that the radial nerve, I can't forget, even though we're just learning about the elbow, we have to encompass the hand and understand that if the person does have entrapment at the ECRB, which again indicates like entrapment of most likely the superficial radial nerve, that they're going to have symptoms coming down all the way down their arm, and they most likely will complain about some kind of like complaint over the CMC or the carpal metacarpal joint on that first digit. So, da-dang. Alright, let's see what else. Oh, okay, let's move on to the ulnar nerve really quick, okay? So the ulnar nerve can get stuck again in those three places: the cubital tunnel, the flexor forearm muscles, and the canal. From there, in these three sites, we could see them from here. The ulnar nerve goes to again, that tunnel, the cubital tunnel. Can't get stuck in any of the flexor forearm muscles, so our PFPF. And the Guyon's canal, which is more again on the hand and wrist. The ulnar nerve can become entrapped, and this is what Caleb was saying earlier about like how badly structured our body is for the ulnar nerve. But the ulnar nerve can get just stuck because of structure, our bone structure specifically. It gets stuck behind the medial epicondyle, so it could just get stuck on a bone, basically, is what it's saying. And maybe you have a large carrying angle. Remember the anime angle where I'm just like, okay, put yourself in neutral position and see how your arms angle out away from your body? That's going to be your carrying angle. And what happens is that if you have a large carrying angle, maybe even larger than normal, so maybe above 15 degrees, you're going to have a larger valgus stress. And because of that, that's going to create a sharper turn of the ulnar nerve around that medial epicondyle. And again, because it's a structural issue, we can't really do much other than be like, sorry, my dude, go get surgery. And that kind of surgery is called an ulnar nerve transposition. And basically, I didn't mean to write and. They moved the nerve anterior to medial. So a nerve that was in front, we'll just move it out to the side. Bam, problem fixed. But again, with all surgeries, they're tired, they don't know how to use their muscles anymore. Let's go help them in that way. Okay. Being entrapped in the forearm flexor group kind of goes along with all the other entrapments that we've been talking about, and just talked about the tension and the inflammation and irritation from any of our forearm flexors or the PFPF. So, prolonged pressure in this area can cause damage to the ulnar nerve. So pretty much leaning into your elbows. So you know, like when you're bored and you use like your hand to rest your face in. You're like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so bored, I'm just trying to keep my head up. Well, because you're doing that, you're applying a lot of pressure into your elbow, and that can create, again, irritation, and that's why you're having that problem. And what happens is that creates tightness and weakness and inflammation and blah, 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 blah. So what happens is that you're more likely to have a better outcome with rehab if the entrapment is just due to something as simple as that. Like, oh, maybe you just rest on your elbows too much, and that's why you're having that tightness and tension. And basically there's skills that can be performed manually to help kind of release it and help for better movement of that ulnar nerve. And we kind of go into a brief, like, dip our toe into that neural tension testing. I was talking to you cubs about that. I need a really good refresher on, but you can do that nerve flossing to help, again, facilitate the nerve movement so they cannot have those symptoms anymore. So Alex, like, I feel like I have this issue. Just don't rest on your elbows, my dude. Unless you're talking about structure, then I'm sorry, my dude. So we got a good rundown about, like, sorry, I know we keep scrolling up and down. So we got a really good rundown about each entrapment. So how are they presenting again? Can we run that through again? Yes, for the third hecking time, let's hecking run it through. So median nerve is going to present in a variety of ways. There's like a really cute picture that someone had made that I politely borrowed and put into this document. But just understand that they're talking about median nerve damage, and really the thing I want to like bring up here is the presentations. So what happens if you have medial nerve damage, which kind of goes outside the scope, unfortunately, of this particular chapter, but if there's any damage to the median nerve, you would have no flexion of the first and second fingers. So if someone were to ask, hey, can you flex your hand? You might end up with something called hands of benediction. I think it's also called priest hand as well, because it looks like, I don't know, the Catholic Church or something, where, yes, your fourth and fifth digit can fold, but the first, second, and third can't. And that's because there's no proper innervation to the flexor digitorum superficialis or even the profundus to do that action. The apan, it actually escapes me. I don't remember why you may have an apan. An apan is a physical deformity in humans causing an inability to abduct or oppose their thumbs. Therefore, the thumb has little to no abduction in opposition. Oh, and that's why it's presenting like that. I'm sorry. But really cool ways of how we could tell if there's some kind of like median nerve pathology is that we could do 2 special tests. So we can do, well, technically 3, but there's like a 2-in-1 with this Phalen's maneuver. So for the Phalen's maneuver, you could put the back of your hands together. Sorry, I don't have the pathology, but it's still like such an uncomfortable motion to do. This is actually referred to as the reverse Phalanx maneuver, I believe. It says Phalanx. I feel like this is the reverse one. Maybe not. It's the same thing either way. But you have to have your arms straight and you push your hands together like you see in the image. And it's supposed to replicate symptoms for a carpal tunnel, because again, remember, the medial nerve can get stuck in the carpal tunnel. So if you feel sensations and tingling like that, you might be indicative of carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm sorry, my dude. Or you can do the opposite, which is definitely way more comfortable for me. Put your palms together and have your arms straight out and just push towards each other. So like if you're doing like a little prayer or something like that, if you do that, that's also another way to test for carpal tunnel, and it's definitely more comfortable. I don't know how people do this other one. I am not confident. Oh my goodness, Nui, hi, welcome. Cracks wrist. Gotcha. Welcome. Politely breaking my wrist right now? Please don't. I am not responsible. Cry, sobs, tears. Another safer special test that we can do is the Tennel sign. So this is basically, you could tap at the cubital tunnel, which is at your elbow, or what do you call it? Tap at your wrist, and you basically use one finger and you just tap at that bad boy. You tap at it for 30 to 60 seconds, and if it replicates any kind of tingling and whatnot, you may have a median nerve pathology. So yay. This, I wish I knew this at like age 10, the things I wouldn't have done. Listen, there's some crazy things that people do, and this is gonna sound gross, so gross warning alert, you have 10 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. People, you saw the median, the ulnar nerve and how it sat, right? Do I have another picture right here? Because that would be pretty pog. This is a radio nerve. Sorry, I'm like looking at it. The ulnar nerve and how it travels and all this like little dot is supposed to be the nerve. People thought it was funny to pull, like, you can grab anything you want in your body, to be completely honest. Now, would I recommend it? No, I would never recommend it. Please don't do that. They would grab their ulnar nerve, hook it under the fingers, and move it out of the cubital tunnel. And they're like, haha, that's so funny. Look at it. It's you know, reproducing like symptoms down my arm. Oh my gosh, the tingling. And they would do it on other people of like moving their ulnar nerve, and just like, and it's like a fun party trick apparently. But what happens is that when you're moving it out of where it's supposed to be, you're creating nerve damage. And so people who used to do that, because apparently again it was a popular party trick, have now long-term nerve damage. So teehee. So yeah, there you go. Oh my gosh, it makes me like fight or flight. I want no one to touch my elbows. Even though I think I have some kind of posterior tendinopathy. Yeah, please, I'm sorry, but I heard it in like the video and I was so grossed out. I'm like, no way, I don't want to even see it. It just dies. Staying 500 meters away from touching any nerves. Exactly. That is so fun. It's not fun. If you used to do it, I'm sorry. Just don't do it anymore. I won't even humor Cubs about like, this is a video of how to pull out your ulnar nerve. Oh my goodness. Anyway. anyway, we're done with that. So, cool beans, Cubs. So how can we tell the difference between a nerve root and a peripheral nerve condition? So, okay, Tippa, we've been talking about nerves like for the past hour. What the actual heck, you know? Let's see. So with nerve roots are coming like directly off like the spine or like some kind of plexus or whatnot. They're just really close to its source, hence like the root. Think of like a plant. For the plant, the nerve root is just more sensitive, and what happens is that if there's any kind of compression, like you most likely will hear this in maybe like some spine compression or something wacky like that. Don't talk to me about the spine, that's all next semester. You may follow a pattern if you have some kind of entrapment or compression of a nerve root in a dermatonal or myotomal pattern, and it's like, Tippa, what the heck is that? And I'm like, don't you remember the colorful dude? Tippa, what are you talking about? Alright, time to break out the colorful dude. Please do not have genitalia. Thank hecking goodness. So your body kind of follows this pattern, right? Sorry, you would not believe the amount of like Milestone dermatomes with just like a male genitalia. I'm like, please stop. Anyway, so dermatomes and myotomes. Dermatomes is basically a nerve root that is responsible for a section of your body and its sensation, while the myotome is a certain section of the body but dedicated to a muscle related stuff. So when we talk about like the median nerve and radial nerve and whatever, we also need to consider what their nerve roots are. Now, if you ask me what the nerve roots for median nerve is, I think it's C6 to T1. Maybe. I could not tell you. I've not memorized that. But that's why it's also important to know about that, because now we need to see if it affects any myotomal patterns, and etc., etc. So if you have a nerve root problem, basically, it follows like a pattern or a layer, and this is all just like mapped out. Ta-da! Well, if you have a peripheral nerve issue, like let's say again that pronator teres or carpal tunnel syndrome with the compression of the median nerve, they would only have symptoms distal to the entrapment. So basically again, if you have an entrapment of the carpal tunnel, your whole hand is basically hacked up. Not your elbow though, because the entrapment is at the carpal tunnel, which is at your wrist. So anything distal or down or further away from the top of your body is going to be experiencing those symptoms. Looked at the shorter life expectancy of the past? Another reason? Look, listen, whatever people used to do in the past was insane. I can't wait to look back 50 years from now and be like, yeah, what we used to do was insane. Remember when kids used to eat Tide Pods? Like, I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, no, sorry, I blanked out for a moment. Apologize. Can't believe you have the nerve to ask us that. What do you mean? This is just all fun stuff. Look, here's the nerve root stuff again. Sorry, it's C6. It's C5. Oh my gosh, C5 the T1, and then this is supposed to be a fun image of the brachial plexus, and it's like a simplified document of what's supposed to be coming out from your neck, basically. So, ta-dang! What is median nerve distribution? So again, our ulnar nerve is back and front. Well, for whatever reason, only for the palmar side, for median nerve, its sensory innervation is the entirety of the palmar side. But if you were to do the back of the hand or the dorsal, you would only get the tips of the fingers. So just remember that. Here's the thing that hecked me up, and I feel like I need to get a little bit more clarification. What is the relationship of the anterior interosseous nerve to the median nerve? So, this is really interesting because the radial nerve has its fun with the splitting. Like, oh, we have a superficial and deep version of the radial nerve. Well, you also have a split off the median nerve, and that's going to be the AIN, anterior interosseous nerve. This median nerve is going to split off, and I believe it's a motor-only nerve. This motor-only nerve is going to provide innervation to the flexor digitorum profundus, and that's going to help with digits 1 and 2, so our thumb and pointer finger. The INA can also be entrapped in the pronator teres, so alright, I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about the nitty-gritty details about pronator syndrome, even though I feel like we've seen this 5 times and we finally got to the story. Is it called median because it's in the middle? Yeah. And why is it called radial? Because it's on the radius bone. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, okay, why is it called ulnar nerve? Because it's on the ulnar bone. Oh, cool. Bam, anatomy hacks. Drops my Alright, so let's think about this. So pronator teres, what is a common nerve that can get entrapped in here? The median nerve. What are some other areas? Again, we have our structural anatomies. Oh gosh, I hit my cubital tunnel. No, I'm sorry. I rolled my elbow off my chair handle and I just felt it. My funny bone. The temporary compression. Okay, anyway. Median nerve can get stuck on the structural anomalies, such as, again, the ligament of Struders and also the supracondyle I don't remember if they called it a ridge. I don't remember, so I'll have to look it up. But those two are not as common. It can also be the bicep aponeurosis, can be pronator teres, can be carpal tunnel. In this case, we're going to be focusing on pronator teres because it's pronator teres syndrome. Now, syndrome sounds very scary, but syndrome is just like a summary of, it's basically the accumulation of symptoms. It's not really a disorder or a disease. It's just the accumulation of what's happening. Now, why could this happen? Well, so the pronator teres actually has two heads when we look at its origin, and we need to understand that the nerve kind of slips its way into there. So if there's any direct pressure to that area, if there's a nerve that is big and bulky, or maybe we're just inflaming it with repetitive pronation. So we get our soup, we drop the soup. We get the soup, drop the soup. Pick up the soup, drop the soup. Yeah, that kind of motion can enrage that area, and what happens is that can cause entrapment to the median nerve, so it pinches in between the two heads. So lengthening and contracting will affect this. So the pronator teres innervation is more proximal to where the muscle actually is. So pretty much, even if you have pronator teres syndrome, it won't be weak because it's actually still getting innervation. So smile emoji. But anything below the pronator teres, muscle location wise, will have motor weakness. Why? Because that's just the luck of the draw when you have entrapment. Normally anything distal to that entrapment is going to have weakness or some kind of loss. So remember that PF. So the first P is the pronator teres. So anything below that, so our flexor digitorum, flexor digitorum, flexor carpi radialis. No, but the radialis is radial. No, it's medial. No, I have to double check. Heck. What page are we on? 48? Cover your eyes, cubs. No, they're all median nerve. I got scared. The radial nerve keeps scaring me. Don't doubt yourself. Alright, where are we? Alright. So yeah, anything following that pattern is going to be weak. Just not the pronator teres because it's already received this innervation. For sensory loss though, again, remember the hand? It's going to have the entire palm with the exception of half the fourth finger and the fifth finger, which is going to be your pinky. When you go on the dorsum of the hand, it's only going to have the tips of those three and a half fingers. So what can we do to confirm that we have this? Again, we can lengthen it, we can contract it, we can do the little prayer, we can do the reverse prayer. Oh gosh, how do people do the other one? We can tap it for 30 to 60 seconds, or we could press down onto it, and we press down and we have to hold that palpation for tenderness for 30 to 60 seconds. Okay, Tippa, that's great and all. Thank you for the cool tip talk. Yeah, what about carpal tunnel syndrome? So, pronator teres and carpal tunnel are very similar because it's dealing with the same nerve. It is just a different area of entrapment. So for carpal tunnel, what happens is that the motor innervation will be much different. If we said here is the pronator teres right here in this purple block and we cut it off, everything down here would be weak. But what if we don't have a problem up here? What if we have a problem at the carpal tunnel? Well then, everything will present a little bit differently. So, you mean to tell me there's a carpool in this tunnel? Gosh darn it, did no one tell you about the carpool system that we're trying to have? Go green, my dude. No. Carpool! Unless, no! The subtitles hate me. Carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel. Anyway, thank you, subtitles. Oh my goodness. So those with weak pronator teres are now strong because the innervations for those are not trapped. What does that mean? Those with weak pronator teres are now strong. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. There's no entrapment at the pronator teres. There should be nothing involving that, so it should be good. They should have a strong pronator teres. Muscle weakness will now be at the thenar compartment. So the thenar compartment is just a fancy word of saying the thumb. A good way to determine this difference between carpal tunnel and pronator teres muscle weakness is to hold on. Nice. I'm so sorry. I think it's a little bit of the powder from the energy drink got stuck in my throat. Goodness gracious. A good way to determine between carpal tunnel and pronator teres is to see that weakness in the thenar muscle. So now that we're done talking about the motor compartment, let's move on to the sensory changes. So what's going to happen, this is really interesting, is that for sensory changes, if you were to have carpal tunnel, this area of your hand, this gap that you see right here, would be spared, because with carpal tunnel syndrome, the palmar cutaneous branch, which comes up from all the way up here, is spared because guess what? Remember, once you have this entrapment, everything below is hacked up. But this is up here, so it can't be hacked up. And up here again is our palmar cutaneous branch. So this little area is free with our carpal tunnel. But our thumb, our pinky, our middle finger, and half our ring finger are gone. That can be present in both carpal tunnel and pronator teres, again with the hand. But it's just a small area spared with carpal tunnel syndrome. How can we confirm? Well, basically, again, we could do our different kind of tests that we had mentioned earlier. So, ta-da! Another thing, I found this chart and I thought it was really cool to share, and probably would be eventually cool to share with my classmates, but I just decided not to because... no, I'm sorry, classmates, I'll share it! But basically, median nerve entrapment, carpal tunnel versus pronator teres syndrome. So for the forearm, what happens is that you have forearm pain with the pronator teres syndrome, which makes sense because it's higher up. Nighttime numbness seems to be like a special thing with carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm not sure why at night that it worsens, but it seems to be a very common, presentation. Thenar or thumb wasting, there you go. Remember the muscle weakness, if there's weakness, they might not be able to use it, so it kind of wastes away. Hand weakness is going to be present in both, yep. And then tingling and numbness over the first 3.5 fingers. We got it. Ta-da! Alright, let's scroll. Okay. So, more median nerve with the more same information. I will not stop until this document is done in like 10 pages. Anterior interosseous nerve entrapment is a nerve that's going to branch off the median nerve, and we can see it here, right here, very tiny baby size, unfortunately, but the median nerve is right here and the anterior interosseous nerve is right here, and you see it splits off. Let's see if we can like just zoom in. And the median nerve will continue off, and then the INA will keep going down from here. Now let's go back. Hi, K-Dog. Hi. I hope you're not slacking, Bearcat. Oh, I hope you're not slacking, Bearcat, and pay attention to the teacher today. You're so good. Thank you for stopping by, K-Dog. Hi. We've been having a very productive session. Somehow, some way, I've been speaking for 3 hours straight. Shut me up. No, but we're so good. Welcome in, though. Oh my goodness. That's really good. Tell that to me tomorrow at 3 p.m. when I decide to play a game. Oh my goodness. MSI intensify? Oh no. What a relatable topic. Welcome. What is the relatable topic? I got you. ANI. Yeah, so again, can also be entrapped, by the way, with the pronator teres due to trauma. I mean, hello. And our hypertrophy. So again, like the bulking of the muscle, the bulking of the pronator teres, or maybe you have some kind of trauma or injury to it that's going to cause some damage to the INA. The really cool thing about this nerve again is that it is motor only. So how can we determine it? We could do a special test. We could do this test that has multiple names. I think it's called tip to tip. Okay hand sign, and a pinch grip test. And this is going to test for the median nerve in a way, and you cubs are more than welcome to go along with me with this. So for the pinch grip test, you're supposed to just put your fingers together, correct? When you put your fingers together, what happens is that you should have the tip of your fingers touching. The issue is just, what do you call it? If you have some median nerve anterior interossei problem, the finger flattens out. You won't have like a, oh my goodness, I should just show my hand at this point, but instead of having like the okay hand and like the tips touching like this, what you may have is the finger kind of, how do I draw fingers? Like the finger flattens. That's a pretty good finger when you do the test. And so now it just looks like a bunny rabbit, but this is incorrect. Well, this would be correct. You should be able to do the tip to tip, as you see in that image on the how do you say it? The document. Well, in MS Paint, again, if your finger, like, you know how your finger is divided into, like, you know, little parts, the flexi parts. That tip will flatten out, and that's how you know you're positive or have some kind of like anterior interossei, like nerve entrapment. Thank you for coming to my tip talk. Shout outs to vertical mouse and like keyboard switches. Let's go! Ergonomics, let's go! But sorry, yeah, the pinch grip, it's also basically just to determine that you have a motor loss with FDP. So our flexor digitorum profundus is going to be weak, because if you can't flex and keep that tip to tip, that means you have a weakness in the flexor muscles, and that's why it's extending or straightening out. Also, your flexor pollicis longus muscle may be weak as well, and the flexor pollicis longus sounds weird. It's the flexor of the pollicis, which is the thumb, longus. It's just a long muscle. So yeah, unable to pinch, positive test. Da-dang. So how can we like differentiate between like the median nerve entrapment and this INA we are talking about? We just literally said that this nerve is a branch from the how do you say it, the median nerve. So how do we tell the difference? We need to understand that the INA really only affects the first two digits, the pointer finger and your thumb, with the flexor digitorum superficialis and the flexor pollicis longus, while the median nerve will make flexion of the thumb very difficult. Symptoms would be provoked while palpating for the INA. All sensory would be intact, because guess what? We had just described that the INA is motor only, so they should not have any sensation stuff going on with them. And I don't know what this flexicarpi radialis key in differentiating. I'm not sure. Basically, median nerve, TLDR, the summary, has both sensory and motor components to it. So, smile emoji. There we go. Excuse me. Alright, radial nerve entrapment. Same thing that we've basically been talking about. Let's just, what do you call it? State this just for the record, and you know, say at least I had talked about it or reviewed it at one point, so when I take this test in a few hours from now, I'll be like, I remember telling the cubs about this. So radial nerve entrapments, again, common places can be the supinator. Usually it's deep because the supinator, but remember, the radial nerve is gonna divide into superficial and deep. When we talk about entrapment of the radial nerve at the supinator, we're normally referring to the deep radial nerve, because the superficial one will branch prior to the deep, and normally you can catch the superficial one at the ECRB, extensor carpi radialis brevis. Now, another thing that we did not add on our list but was added onto this little section is the recurrent branch that can be masked like lateral epicondylitis. Oh my goodness. Lateral epicondylitis? No, I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Hold. Wait, How to pronounce? How to pronounce?
Epicondylitis.
Epicondylitis. The recurrent branch can be masked as lateral epicondylitis. If present with these symptoms, you need to look at stressing the ECRB to see if it replicates symptoms. So, how do you call it? Both deep and superficial branch, no matter what, can pretty much be stuck and entrapped at the elbow, as the radial nerve runs over the radial head, so right here. Direct trauma to this area can cause damage to this nerve. Well, direct trauma to any place can hit and affect any nerve, but in this case, remember our foosh injuries and any wacky other things that can affect our elbows. Anything that may cause a fracture of the radial head or the neck to the radius can also damage the radial nerve, so more fracture stuff and more trauma. We just need to understand that both the deep and superficial bifurcate around the elbow, but can also be entrapped at the elbow directly. Here's the same things basically that we can talk about to the heck and back. It's like, hi, welcome. That's how I feel right now. I feel like stare. Welcome. We're talking about the funniest bone because I'm a comedian, but I'm dies. Alright, motor component, sensory component, can be entrapped in the muscle belly, at the supinator, can be entrapped in the ECRB. Oh yeah, sorry, the main complaint again with the supinator is that it goes all the way down, so their sensation can get hacked up over the first CMC. Excuse me. Exam findings. So what can we do? So for any nerve entrapment, again, we can contract it, we can lengthen it, and we could just stab it with our fingers. Palpation for tenderness and be like, does this hurt? Same thing. But we can repeat it. Based on the answer in the above question, what are some signs and symptoms of deep radial nerve entrapment? So if we said the superficial was like complaints and symptoms over the first carpal metacarpal, CMC joint at the thumb, what about deep radial entrapment in the motor? So basically, you're just going to have decreased strength for muscles distal or further away or below the supinator. And you may have some decreased sensation to medial and posterior forearm. And it's like tip up, but then you say this was only motor? The sensation they may be referring to is like this achiness, basically, which is only exclusive, like that feeling's only exclusive to motor nerves only. Smiley emoji. Alright. Ulnar nerve, the one with the cool party trick. So remember, the three places that could get stuck: the cubital tunnel, the flexor forearm muscles, the guions, castle, canal. Oh my god, help me, I'm so tired. The most common entrapment site for the ulnar nerve is going to be at the cubital tunnel. So again, very common, again, if you're resting your elbow onto your seat or you're trying to support your head, again, that pressure can cause entrapment. So prolonged pressure or trauma to that area can be a source of entrapment. Again, having that larger carrying angle, remember, keeping your arms out to the side, can make this a little bit harder because then the nerve has to make a sharper curve or something like that. And remember, that's the structural issue. Where does it innervate again? Well, it would do this basically. So we have our ulnar nerve, we have our median nerve, and we have our radial nerve here in purple. These are all repetitions. Alright. What is the structural problem that can result in damage to the ulnar nerve? So for the ulnar nerve, we can have, again, the structures that we talked about with the increased carrying angle, but we can also have an abnormal medial epicondyle, or oh my goodness, I didn't spell it right. Guion? I know this is going to be the last time I probably say this word, but gosh darn it, am I curious. How to pronounce canal?
Guyon canal. Guyon canal. Guyon canal.
Guyon canal.
Guyon canal.
Guyon canal. What the heck? Alright. That's fine with me. Alright. So it can get stuck there because maybe another structural issue we may have is that canal is shallow. Ulnar nerve pathology tends to stem from a TSI, which is a tissue-specific impairment. So cubital angle is to look... Hold on. Oh, okay. So even though we talked about carrying angles and been like, yeah, that bad carrying angle, having a large one's too bad, and the sharp return, yeah. Well, it turns out that, yeah, cubital angle can play a part, but apparently it has zero correlation to any specific pathology that may be occurring with an ulnar nerve issue that a patient may be coming in with. Most likely you're going to get some kind of ulnar nerve pathology if maybe they're post-fracture or dislocation, or maybe they kind of held their arm into brace casting for a long time and they're just having these ulnar nerve symptoms. Again, these nerves can be damaged due to constant tension or compression or the impingement. Remember, you can hit your funny bone no matter how long and whatever time, and it'll hurt for a little bit. But when we talk about compression, it really is based off these two things, and these two things are going to be the length of time compressed and the severity of the compression. So like, again, hitting the funny bone is for a short duration, not really compression. We also have to, again, assess the severity of it, Hi Ray, hi, welcome. Am I witnessing you? Me too, welcome. Oh, thank you for the headband. Thank you. Welcome. We're just talking about fancy tests. I think we're done. After this. Let's go, Cubs. Alright, so question. What special test would you use to test an ulnar nerve dysfunction? So we could talk about Frohman's sign, which is a paper grip, or Tinel's sign at the cubital tunnel, Guyon canals. Guyon canal. Again, Tinel's is the one where you're doing the tapping for 30 to 60 seconds, and the Frohman's, this is an interesting special test. So, oh my goodness, my body is digesting like nobody's business. Frohman's sign is to test to see if there's an ulnar nerve pathology. Specifically, what happens is that the ulnar nerve innervates the adductor pollicis muscle. Adductor pollicis. Pollicis is referring to the thumb. Adductor is referring to the motion of adducting or putting together. Ta-da! Let's see. So what you would do is you ask your patient to hold your thumbs up, or patient to hold up a thumbs up position, so that like, yeah, you're doing a good job, Cubs, let's go. What happens is that you place a piece of paper in between and ask the patient to hold it, and then you'll try to pull it away. A positive sign is that if they're able to, pull the paper out of their hands, and possible compensation is that they might try to flex basically their IP or the interphalangeal joint, or that like little last bit of flexy bit of your finger. They might try to bend it to hold it, but they're not able to hold it like oh my goodness, like a piece of paper in between their fingers or their hands. They won't really have the strength to do that because of this ulnar nerve palsy. So ta-da! I don't think there's anything else to talk about. These are other notes about like a list of special tests for the elbow specifically, which I mean we could kind of talk about, maybe like briefly touch on it. Other than that, I have some like makeshift notes that I'm not gonna go over. These are my notes when I am when I'm not organizing, by the way, like when I'm just putting information just to like control F it. It is the most like unhinged note taking. Like, what is this? But these are not organized. These are like, oh, I'll put them into a category somewhere. You bet. Alright. Let's learn to see if there's something wrong with us. Yay! Special test for the elbow. So, elbow special test. So we can have Tinel sign, which is an ulnar nerve thing, again, which we can do with tapping the cubital tunnel. And again, the cubital tunnel for the ulna is going to be along the ulna bone, so the pinky. So you would go into the medial side and start tapping for 30 to 60 seconds. The symptoms should be a reproduction of the symptoms that they may be facing because of that ulnar nerve compression or cubital tunnel syndrome. So the pins and needles and the tingling sensation, or like the ants crawling sensation, is going to be very common and will be reproduced once you do the tapping at 30-60 seconds. That would be a positive sign. We talked about the valgus stress, about the MCL, the medial collateral ligament, which again is really good for valgus or lateral stress directed towards us. Yeah. Nice. What happens is that you just replicate that force by pushing, stabilizing here, and then pushing laterally. Da-da. And if they have pain or you notice increased laxity, then there might be a lesion at the MCL. Same with the LCL. Again, get them into this like loose pack position. Now apply the force immediately. Hey, do you notice pain and an increased side laxity? Well, guess what? They may have LCL or lateral collateral ligament issues. Congratulations! We have a moving valgus stress test, which I have to watch a video on. We talked about this earlier, but it's the same thing of just applying a force laterally and seeing if it could reproduce their elbow pain. These are new though. We have Cosen's sign and Mills test. My tutor is so like cute and quirky because they're like, oh, the Cosen's test. Cosen starts with a C, right? And it's like, yeah. C means to contract. Mills ends with an S. Well, not really, but I mean, you're right. And they're like, that is for stretching. So let's talk about the Cosen test. The Cosen test is supposed to be for lateral epicondylis, condyles. Oh my gosh, hello? I don't think I spelled that right, yeah. Anyway, it's for lateral elbow inflammation or tennis elbow. Remember, there's a difference between tennis and golfer's elbow. And golfer's elbow is going to be for medial epicondyle, while tennis is going to be for lateral. So you would have the patient seated and you would stabilize them with one hand and ask the patient to pronate their forearm. So, let's see. Ask the patient to pronate their forearm, so put their palm down and extend and radially deviate the wrist against yours. Let me try it. Pronate your forearm, but also flex or extend your wrist and radially deviate. Huh? Pronate the forearm. Oh, okay, you're not doing like all three motions at once. Okay, you're pronate, like just have the palm down, then extend the wrist, and then radially deviate. And what do we know? What muscle does this? So the muscle that does this, again, is going to be our extensor carpi radialis, which is connected to our lateral epicondyle. So it makes sense that this would test for here and why there might be pain there. Because remember, all our extensors, or most of our extensors, are coming out of the lateral epicondyle, okay? Okay. Let's do Mills test really quick. So Mills test is going to test for the same thing. The lateral epicondyle. We'll just fix it. Lateral epicondyle / tennis elbow. You'd also have them seated. You'll palpate for the lateral epicondyle, so you should feel a bump. Alright? But for this one, we're doing a stretch. So we're going to fully flex their wrist. So bringing the wrist down and extend their elbow with one hand. Huh, let's see. I think because what happens is that this is you're contracting the wrist flexors, and if you're contracting the wrist flexors and they're shortening, then the opposite muscle of that group has to be lengthening. So you're lengthening the extenders, and because you're lengthening the extenders, you're lengthening the extensors that originate from the lateral epicondyle, and we are done. We're done. We're done. Now, will I continue to study? Oh, heck yeah. But I think I'm gonna, study off stream. Not because of any particular reason or anything like that. There's just a lot of files and documents that my tutor gave, so I think I'm gonna try to read through that and like take notes and yada yada. So it's basically like a glorified pomodoro, but not streaming, I guess. But I only have a little bit of time anyway, and sometimes my classmates like to meet up like an hour before to talk about stuff, so womp womp, womp 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 womp. But yeah, 3.5 hours of studying is not so bad. Maybe I'll actually take a little baby break and then I'll go back to studying. But it's already 4:30 and I have the exam at 7, so heck. Masai. Well, we'll see what we can do. Alright, Cubs. Can you help me out? Because I need some help. Well, I can also politely shill stuff really quick, but I know Rip is still streaming, but I also know I raided into Rip recently, so I don't know if I should raid into Rip again or raid into someone new. that can be like a little thing. Right? Rip. So no, but then I could find someone new. I think there's someone playing a cook. What is the game called? The cooking game, and they're doing it for Gamers Outreach. Which, by the way, Cubs, I apologize. I'm not really able to participate in the Gamers Outreach because I'm like, I have to like study all week, and I don't want to run like a little charity event when I'm just studying, and I can't dedicate the appropriate time to it more than like maybe 3-4 hours at most. I can only do like longer study streams or like longer streams because of studying, so forgive me, but I will support anyone who is in there, and I've been lurking a few people's streams, so I'm doing my part. But let's see. I told him I'll participate. I'll probably be more free next year. Let's see. It's just chatting. I forgot they started implementing the what do you call it? Oh my goodness, my brain is not thinking. The filters. So that's actually really interesting. Because I walked into like a Minecraft, oh my gosh, Elden Ring stream that's like, this is for adults, and I'm like, oh, you're right, okay. Let's see. Someone's rewatching the direct. I think I ran into this person, but they're also playing a Killer Frequency. But I think I'm supposed to play that game with Rip, so I can't stay too long because of spoilers. Alright, so there we go. We got our raid options. So we can raid into Rip again. I'm not mad at that. She's playing Pokemon Fusion, and I think there's like really wacky things that we can look at because she's looking at all the fusions right now, and I think that's super neat. We could raid into someone who's doing a Gamers Outreach charity. We could raid into someone playing Minecraft. We could raid into someone who's watching a Nintendo Direct, or we could what do you call it, raid into someone playing the Killer Frequency. But yeah. Let's see. With that in mind though, Cubs, Discord, Twitter, socials. So, with that, Cubs, thank you for joining me for today's study stream. I am gonna take a little baby break and probably just go like right back into it. So it's definitely a-okay. Daijoubu. Yeah. With that in mind, though, tonight we will be seeing each other again. Hopefully, yeah. So tonight we have anime night, and we're slowly getting towards the end of the season. So a lot of our episodes and series that we've been watching for this season are ending. So womp womp. So like we just finished Demon Slayers yesterday, and we watched Mahou Shoujo Destroyers yesterday. But tomorrow, yes. Today, we are watching the newest episode of Oishinoko. I am so excited. They've been releasing some really cute figures of like Hana, and I don't know, I'm just like a big fan. I'm a really big fan of all the merchandise that they're coming out with Oishinoko. Promise I'm not addicted. I just found like a new series I can attach my hip to, you know? Ta-da! Let's see. Oh, what else are we watching? Yeah, we're watching Yamada-kun, which I don't know if it's ending. I don't know if this is the episode that it ends. It might be. But I know Skip to Loafer, which we're watching right afterwards, we're watching the last episode as well, so boo! So now we have to figure out other animes to watch, and we might have to catch up and take Rip's offer on watching the new Gundam or something, you know? Atomic says, thanks for the stream tip. I'm not sure if you have another exam today, but good luck if you do. I do. That's why I quiet every single time. I do. But it's okay. It's daijoubu. I'm not mad. What else? What is really cool in the world though? Let's see. But yeah, no, those are the series that we're watching. I'm not sure. I haven't really got, again, a good peek at the animes for next season other than that zombie one. But I don't know. I really have to be strict on my, like, hey, if I don't like it in 3 episodes, I need to drop it. I have given up hope on all anime. But yeah, that's what we'll be watching. So the week after, we'll be pretty much playing catch up with the rest of the animes, I suppose, that may have not finished this week, and maybe we'll start something new next week. So yay! But with that in mind, also I have my Twitter post up. I will be back streaming tomorrow around 3, so I can sleep in a little bit. Maybe I can do some schoolwork. Maybe I can, I don't know, do one workout. You know, tomorrow's gonna be a little bit of like a self-care day, so please do look forward to that. Tomorrow is a Cock Club Tuesday, so we get to decide what we're doing. And Friday, it might be a study stream. There's a lot of assignments due this week, but I'm a one-track mind kind of bearcat. If I have an exam this week, I'm only focusing on the exam until that exam is over. So definitely tomorrow and the next day, which is that Friday where I have that study stream, I'm going to be focusing on assignments. But if everything goes super well tomorrow, maybe I wake up at 6 a.m. and I do everything I want by like 8 o'clock. Then maybe, just maybe, we could do something a little bit different for a little bit. But if not, go slowly. But we'll definitely have some opportunity and time to catch up, because next week is definitely not as extensive, thankfully. There will be a lot of study streams, but I also don't work next week. Dies and unemployment. No, I'm just kidding. I have employment. They just did not give me hours next week, which is fine. It's okay. I'm not mad because I can just do a bunch of school stuff. But with that, I might do a lot of dual streams. So please look forward to a lot of how do you say it? Study streams in the morning. Take maybe a little lunch break, and then maybe we'll get back into some gaming. Okay? Definitely not going to burn myself out on streaming, but I do want to catch up with some games because I feel like doing one gaming stream this week is kicking my mental health, you know? I want to play video games and I want to get through. I want to play more Tears of the Kingdom, and I got my Yakuza itch back, so with all the announcements and all the stuff with Yakuza, I'm like, oh, I gotta get through this game. The game is so good though. Anyway, let's go right into Rip. Thank you for the poll. I appreciate ya. Thank you. Make sure to have a good day. I will after this exam, I promise. But thank you for joining, cuz. Thank you. Feel free to have the raid message. We are going to be raiding into Rip again. So what's going to happen from here is that if you are subscribed, feel free to use the Tipanya with the Gaga raid. And if you're not subscribed, feel free to use the Tipanya or the berry emoji with the Gaga raid. Okay? Okay. I can't believe Rip did get raided twice while we were having this conversation, which is not a bad thing by whatever means, but I hope she's okay. I hope she's okay with a third raid. Nice. Anyway, guys, let's go right into Rip. I'm gonna take a little baby break. If you've been joining me for the stream, make sure to stand up, stretch, hydrate, eat a good little small tweet. You deserve it. It's a Wednesday, my cuz. Let's go have a good rest of our day. Hopefully I get to see you later today, hello time, for anime night. But if I don't, hopefully I catch you sometime this week. And if not, absolutely no hecking worries. Please have a good rest of your week, have a good weekend, and catch you next time, okay? Bye! Bye-bye! Bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye!